I mean, the one neighbor to the north, she did make a comment. She's like, well, I don't know. I haven't checked cameras in a couple weeks. I haven't pulled cards. And I'm like, pulled cards? Wait a minute.
Old school SDs.
Yeah.
These are good neighbors.
Yeah.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt.
Should be no surprise to anyone listening to this that back with Hoyt another season. I'm actually going to be shooting the AX2 aluminum this year.
You traitor.
But you're still going RX9.
Yeah, blacked
carbon,
out as always.
Blacked out.
Yeah.
Big surprise for
80
everyone.
pounds. Big surprise. Yeah.
But seriously, man, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Every year, it seems like we get a new Hoyt bow in our hands, and they're always a step above the last and just a step above everybody else.
Yeah, they're so consistent, man. Just their processes get better, every year. And we've really been excited about, as we've grown with Hoyt, we've brought some others in with us. And we just feel like the Hoyt family is growing, like the community, and we're really excited about the people that are involved, excited to be a part of that company. And it's really awesome.
So for anyone that's excited about Hoyt like Jared and I are, you can use the code HUNTR, HUNTR, on Hoyt.com.
Get serious, get Hoyt.
And we're back.
Ew.
HUNTR Podcast, episode 279, as Nick keeps us in line from
Dad's
afar.
texted me pictures of Bucks on the move this morning.
What stands he in?
He's not. He's he's at the house.
Oh my gosh. And he went out yesterday and he didn't go out today. Today was the day. This is the morning.
Did I tell you about our conversation? I think I jumped it into him a little bit, but we'll get into that. But before we do, appreciate you guys all being here. We drop these episodes every Tuesday and Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern time. If you like, follow, or subscribe any of our channels, it'll notify you as to when those episodes drop. But if you've written us on Instagram DM or the website, those are the two we check the most frequently. I appreciate you guys checking in. A lot of you have bought stuff off the website recently, which is cool. Love seeing that. I've seen some stuff in the native habitat. I've seen our merch out there, which is fun to see. You're running stuff. You're like,
I normally just see Lucas Psycho wearing a backwards HUNTR hat.
Who better to represent? But, other than that, I mentioned we have some merch on the website. You guys can check that out. And you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, on any of our partners' websites for a discount in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, here we go.
In guest studio today, which is awesome. We don't get to do this much, Steve. So we've got Steve Huettl from Predator Camo, which is, we've been talking about this for a while. We were like, oh, maybe let's do it remote. And then you were like, well, no, I should come in and be here. And anytime we can have an in-studio guest, we're all about it. Just goes so much smoother.
Yeah. I mean, happy to be here. Appreciate the invite. And yeah, I think in-studio podcasts are great.
Yeah.
Have you ever done a podcast before, Steve?
I have not.
The first one.
So
huh?
First one.
Popping the cherry.
Yep.
Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we could add one. So I gave. Well, Steve's been in Pittsburgh before. We were talking about, from the game hide side, used to come and speak to Dick's Sporting Goods and things like that. But I was like, oh, you're in Pittsburgh. We should give you the Pittsburgh experience. So we went to Permanis, of course.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh experience. Why don't you rent a hotel in Uniontown?
Yeah, hotel in Uniontown. Go to Permanis. But we could add our own mini podcast last night at the Permanis table, just diving in on.
You guys did Permanis?
Stuff.
Is there one in Uniontown?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right across from the hotel.
You've done Permanis before, yeah?
Never. No.
What'd you think?
It's great. I had the Reuben.
Yeah, the Reuben.
Not overrated?
No, it was very good. Very good.
I've always felt kind of like,
I mean, I'm a classic. I'm a steak, egg, and cheese guy. Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that.
Can't go wrong with that. But yeah, it's good joint, good atmosphere.
That's
so
cool.
yeah, we just shot the shit on deer hunting for 2 hours pretty much.
Oh yeah.
If you got time to kill today, you got to swing through. My wife and I own an ice cream shop in Pittsburgh, which you probably will on the way home, depending on what time your flight is. But it's right on the south side, which is, and so East Carson Street is the main drag there. So Page's Dairy Mart is a popular spot down there.
So
we close on Monday, so today would be the day to go.
Is it? It's seasonal. Then?
Seasonal. So Monday we're boarding it up. We're shutting her down, and
Jared's like, pre-rut starting. We're shutting her down.
We shut her down about a week early this year because I have an asphalt project. We're getting ready to repave the lot. But
nice.
So the deer season won't hurt from that either. But
not at all. Well, we're filming this on October 9th. Darren, I think a week from today, right? I think that's
what's that?
This podcast is going to be a week from today.
Yeah.
Yep. So 16th that this will go out. Today was probably the first high pressure morning from the cold front that came through.
It's always the day after when you think it is.
Yeah, yesterday that front kind of like hung in here a little bit longer. Like there were a lot of people that went out because they're like, rain stopped, like let's get out. And it was like 50 degrees and it's still hanging. This morning it was like 37.
I know.
Crystal clear. Rieger shot one of our public land shooters up here on the mountain. So I'm like waiting to see
Hopefully it's that big one you showed me.
Yeah, what's going on?
That's
like what's the end result here? But they were definitely moving this morning and feeling frisky. But we were even talking about it yesterday. We were like, hey, you know, this cold front seems so awesome because it's been just hot and 80 degrees and all this stuff. But it's just so early. Like they're still not doing like the deer things yet, coinciding with a major cold front.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that last night, and back in Minnesota, where I'm from, I was in the stand Monday night, and Monday night was kind of that leading edge of the front, right? And, you know, I knew better. I knew I needed to be in the stand Tuesday night, but with preparations coming down here and family obligations, you know, it's just, it's tough.
You want to get in when you can get in.
You get in when you can get in, and, you know, lo and behold, I hunted Monday night, saw a bunch of does, fawns, buck activity was pretty slow, which I expected.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, you know, Monday night rolls into Tuesday morning, and my cameras just light up.
Yeah.
I mean, I was showing Jeremy, there's 3 mature bucks all of a sudden on camera that haven't been on camera at all. I mean, I think I had one picture of the one 3.5 weeks ago, that big one that I'm after. And then, it's just like once you get that second day of that front, that's kind of key. And I would assume, I mean, my cameras last night were
all on scrapes.
Were good too.
No,
just out roaming, traveling on travel corridors, things like that.
Interesting, like trails and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do a lot of that, running cameras, just like trails, or
yeah.
Yeah. Well, your setup's a little different. I was just saying, you don't have to give into like complete detail, but you know, you're I wouldn't say urban, but suburban hunting area.
It's urban, but I mean, the one side of the property actually gets into houses. There's definitely houses there.
Yep.
And then there's property. So the property I hunt is around a 200-acre piece, but there's a lot of other property around there that's bought up by a larger company. And we're talking hundreds and hundreds of acres. So it's urban, but it's right on that fringe where it's kind of not urban.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a good mix, right? You've got a lot of acreage that is no hunting. Now, granted,
it is. So they don't let guys hunt that?
No.
But people trespass, you think?
Yeah, 100%.
I saw your face there.
Yeah, and it's you know, it's tough. It's one of those deals where you're constantly battling trespassers, and I've got enough connections and enough people that I know that hunt that area where we kind of all share information, and we can even, after a certain amount of time, start to pinpoint who the people are that are trespassing, because nobody ever seems to really keep their mouth shut, especially the guys that are trespassing if they kill a good one or something.
And you see trucks parked there and stuff? Like, I mean, they got a park somewhere,
no, they
right?
get dropped off and they get picked up.
Wow. So they're intentional. Like, very, going
absolutely.
So not to like completely dive into it because people are sick of it, but we talked about it here just before the podcast. You know, Minnesota recently legalized crossbows. Do you think that's changed some of that trespassing? Just because like I can go in there with a crossbow and walk around and shoot versus like before it was either vertical bow or gun, which they hear you.
Right. Right. Well, and I mean, that being said, even with a gun, I'm in that area where there's enough not houses around that
a gunshot doesn't really set people off.
No, and you will hear a random gunshot here and there, and I mean, they usually wait until the gun season opens up before they're
really gunning in.
But I'll hear a random gunshot and I'll be like,
gang related? Not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're a little south for that, thankfully, but no, yeah, you just, you hear that random gunshot and you're like, you just know somebody's where they're not supposed to be. And then, always in the back of my mind, it's, they killed this buck.
Sure.
Or they killed that buck, and your wheels start spinning and you get a little out of control, and then you gotta come back. You gotta reset. I've been doing, so in Minnesota where I grew up kind of the southern end of the cities, and I was telling Jeremy last night, I grew up feeding the deer in my backyard, getting to watch deer, just how they interact for years. I mean, I grew up, I used to stay up on school nights till like 1 a.m, watching out my window and just watching the deer come and go from the feeder all the time. And, you know, it's one of those areas where there is some big deer, but I've noticed, so, I mean, I've been doing it for 35 plus years now, hunting this urban stuff. And over the years, what I've noticed is the amount of big deer around is much lower than it used to be. And a lot of that just has to do with hunting pressure, right?
Yeah.
You know, the more houses that get developed, the more it sprawls out, the more guys you have hunting in 2-acre backyards and 1-acre backyards, and they're in almost every backyard, right? And, you know, most guys are killing every 2.5, 3.5-year-old buck that comes by, and they're just not getting age to them that they need to get to.
I mean, are there bigger blocks of contiguous habitat? You say it's hunting pressure. Is it also like new development happening? Is there much of that?
Yeah, it's a combination. It's new development. Now, there is bigger blocks. Like I said, where I'm at, you've got hundreds of acres that are privately owned by a company that can't be hunted.
Right.
But that being said, that's kind of the plus to where I hunt, because you just never know what's going to show up and when it's going to show up, right?
Well, like those ones you showed me, like the one you knew of, that's a buck that you hunted last year, and we think this year maybe 8.5.
That's
right?
what I'm
like
guessing.
Almost on the downhill side at this point.
Correct.
And those other two, I mean, both mature deer, but you had never seen those deer before.
Never seen them on camera this year.
Man,
yeah, it's just
what a cool. That's a cool feeling. We talk about it all the time. It's like, man, you know, you hear about places where like these quote surprise bucks just start showing up, but it seems more rare and rare that those places exist.
Yeah.
So to have that opportunity that they're probably staging in that big company property or something, and then, you know, a night like 2 nights ago or last night, they're just stretching their legs, right? Weather feels good, feeling a little frisky, and just walking, just cruising.
Yeah.
Well, part of that back in the day, I think, was you guys weren't running as many cameras either.
Sure. Yeah, the veil was down a little bit. We always thought it's like, oh, this
property, they just move through it. It's all, you know, they don't show up till so-and-so time, which our Illinois farm is that way. We get into that stuff here too, but that's the reality. We run enough cameras to know. I don't think they're just like sneaking through there and they're there the whole time.
Right.
But now guys are running so many cameras that it's just like very few slip through the cracks. I can't remember the last time a buck showed up that I was like, I genuinely don't know who that is. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I mean, you've had
in any state.
You've had some deer though that have showed up to where like maybe have gone missing for a year or two.
In Ohio?
Yeah.
Have I?
Yeah.
Can you name one?
I mean,
they've gone missing and then they've showed back up.
That you're like, hey, that's that deer from, you know, maybe he's a 4-year-old now and he was a 2-year-old and went missing type of thing.
It's possible that that's happened. I'm going to say it's more so just my lack of focus
on them,
on that particular deer. I'm just like, I don't know. I didn't pay attention to him for whatever reason. Maybe he was on a fringe type of thing. But yeah, it's fair. That could have happened.
I mean, I would say Illinois is the one that, and again, we only have, this is our 3rd season there.
Yeah.
So we only have 2 years of history with it, but there'll be a buck that shows up this year that we're like, I don't know who that is. For sure.
It may. That farm would be the one to do it. But I don't know. Because now that we've got 3 years, we've got, it may be one we saw 2 years ago type of a thing, but.
Or it's going to be one of the pictures we got from a neighbor. So we wouldn't have known he's there, but now the neighbor has shared it with us. So we know that he, like the ones I was talking about last night that frame up. So, and why don't we just dive into that? Cause it's cool. So we found out, Steve, you and AJ have a property it's like 20 minutes southwest of us in West Central Illinois. Similar size. You're 100 acres. We're at 144. And we were talking last night about how, you know, we, as compared to like all of our other spots, like that area of Illinois, for whatever reason, these mature bucks especially have these like weird small core areas. Like we've had neighbors, you know, there's a 250 to 300 yard field gap between us and a wood block, and they had a really big buck in there last year, and we had 0 sightings of that deer at all on our farm. And then across the road, like literally at a farm road, there's a property, and they'll get bucks on that property that we've never seen before. And it's just like they have these weird bubbles that I'm sure some of them overlap, you know, we'll have some deer that they'll see, but for the most part, it's like they're getting deer that we don't have. We have deer that they don't have. And we're talking about a few 100-acre, you know, bubble basically that we're looking at that. And I just haven't experienced that anywhere else.
Yeah.
I bet it lays a little different than where you're at, though. Are you more contiguous timber where you're
at?
Yeah.
Yep.
That is the case.
Yeah.
So we're a little bit more blocky, like a lot of ag where we're at.
Sure.
Still some decent sized blocks. I think that is a part of why that is.
Well, but Steve's got some similar experiences with some deer. We talked about you've got like a 400-acre neighbor and you've got a 200-acre neighbor. And
and you guys are running cameras and kind of have an idea what's going on?
Well, yeah, we're running camera because Jeremy brought that up last night. And I said, well, it's interesting that you say that because we're trying to build relationships now with the neighbors to the north and the neighbors to the south because they're kind of on the same page as we are. They, they want to kill big deer and they're not putting a lot of pressure on those properties. We're not going to be putting a lot of pressure on our property. And so I opened up and I shared, a couple of the better bucks that we have on camera this year with them to kind of get the conversation going and started.
Check the temperature.
And they're, they were great. They started sharing right back. And I'm like, okay, these are the kind of neighbors that I was hoping we had. And, I did a little back history on that before we bought the property. Obviously, we knew. I had a cousin that owned the property before, so he already knew the neighbors, and we got that kind of intel ahead of time.
That's huge,
these neighbors are really good neighbors. They're they're going to be on the same game plan. I'm like, perfect.
That's a big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, it's
literally
a huge
everything.
Piece.
It's all that matters.
So, in sharing the pictures, it was interesting. The one neighbor to the north said, "Yes, I have the one buck, but the really big buck you have on camera, I don't have a single picture." And I'm like, that's interesting because, one of our cameras that we have them on, that deer is literally walking right into their property, but no pictures of them yet. So,
are your neighbors from Illinois or are they non-residents as well?
They're both local.
Interesting.
Yeah. They're both right there.
Yeah, I've noticed that in not to diss anybody in big buck states, but we've gone out to especially Iowa was the one that really stood out to me. We walked from farms of guys that were from Iowa, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm looking at where their stands and cameras are at, and it's they have pictures of some deer and stuff, but I'm like, this is not how I would do this.
Yeah. It's interesting. I haven't had a chance to go on to any of those neighbors' properties, but the one neighbor to the north, she did make a comment. She's like, well, I don't know. I haven't checked cameras in a couple weeks. I haven't pulled cards. And I'm like, pulled cards? Wait a minute.
Old school SDs.
Yeah.
These are good neighbors.
Yeah. So as soon as you kind of hear that, you're like, okay, how are they exactly hunting? I guess I look at it and I think to myself, I've kind of, every time there's new technology that comes out or there's this or there's that, I'm kind of into it and I want to do it. I want to try it. I want to, try to advance where I'm at. And, some of those people just, they're still pretty much set in their ways and what they do. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, to me, with all the advancements in trail camera, to not have cell cams, it's just, I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have my phone and, be able to check that. And
especially as a non-resident. It's not like you can run out there and check cards like they might be able to,
Yeah, I've got a 6-hour drive to get to that property. So it's not like it's close. It's not far either. But, you want that information and you want it ready to go. And so.
We talked to Greg Ritz last week or something like that. And he's got a 2,000-acre block in Illinois. I don't know where exactly, but I
bet it's not far from us.
Sounds like a dream farm. It's a giant block of contiguous timber surrounded by big ag.
I think I know exactly where that property is.
He's running, what did he say, 400 SD cameras on that thing? And no cell cameras because he's adamant that it scares him or that they know they're there type of thing. So he runs. He has a trot line of 400 SD cards. He's got a farm manager, that's pulling all these cards, and he spends the time to go through every single one of them. Wow. I can't fathom the time.
Yeah, that once again, cell cameras. The worst thing that can happen is what? Your batteries go dead.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's there. It's non-intrusive.
If you're boogering deer, that is not a good thing. But I personally haven't. They know it's there. Did he get it?
No. So this is here. I'll preface this. So my buddy Eric is hunting. We cover a lot of the same public ground up here. We run cameras, share cameras.
Sure.
And so he shot one this morning in a spot that we're there's 2 or 3 really good shooters, and he shot, I think it was 42 yards. He's like, I know it was one of the big ones. I'm just not sure which one. And so he's waiting in the stand. This is 30 yards from him as he's waiting in the stand. Go ahead and play that.
Boy.
Yeah. Mega.
Oh, no. The other,
Just wait.
The other giant.
Just wait.
Is this the big one that?
Yeah.
Oh, here you go. I was off on the wrong.
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah,
boy.
That is the big one.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
30 yards.
Oh boy.
That's a big deer.
That is a big deer.
So which one do we think he shot?
I don't know.
I know where you're going tomorrow.
Yeah. I wish. I got a race to prepare for.
You prepare for. You can hunt tomorrow morning, right?
Yeah, potentially. That's funny.
You get a day.
That's a stud.
That's cool.
That's what happens. I assume, I know there's 2 other ones that are really good in that area that I'm sure it's one of those 2, but, and they're both 5+ for sure.
That's cool.
So, but yeah, just they're moving this morning.
Oh yeah.
So anyways, I don't know. That's the potential downfall to cell cameras, but you can't afford to not have them. I'll run the risk of knowing it's there. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And we talked about that as well. You know, like I said, growing up where I did, and I was telling Jeremy last night, you know, every buck I watched for years, every buck was a little different. I had bucks that would come, get their picture taken once, and I would watch them come and literally work back around that camera to not get in front of that camera again, time and time again. And then I would move the camera, would take one picture of him, and then he'd start skirting that tree where that camera was on. And then there were other deer that were, you know, mature deer that could literally care less. They would stand in front of that thing. They would pose. They would do whatever. So, I mean, again, I think every deer is its own individual. They all have their own personalities. They all do different things. And it's just the way it is. I mean, like you were talking about with Greg Ritz, I mean, he can have all those cameras out there, I think. And, you know, he says he doesn't like cell cameras but I guarantee you there's some of those deer out there that they're avoiding those cameras.
Yeah, period.
The regular cameras.
Yes.
Interesting.
I think the other thing is, and I know that he was very regimental in kind of how he's like, you know, behaving around those deer. So like if you see a buck or whatever, like you don't change the speed of your side by side. You do, but like you know, any which way you look at it, if you're checking 400 cameras, you have some sort of excess presence that you don't have with cell cameras, right? Like to go in and physically pull cards and drop scent. And I always look at it like, and I know Illinois doesn't really have to deal with it, but like here, if I go and check an SD card camera, or even when I put up a cell camera, I can almost bet within 48 hours I have a bear on that camera. Like they smell my scent and they go straight to the camera, right?
Sure.
So that and even though a deer doesn't behave like that to like go straight to the camera, that tells me that there's enough scent on there that a whitetail also is detecting that scent, whether I checked an SD camera card or I put up a cell camera, because that bear's mindset is I'm going to go and be right up in this thing. And I'm telling you, I could go back and every time I deploy one within 48 hours, boom, he's on it. So if you think about checking those SD cameras, which I still have a bunch in a lot of areas that I don't have service, when you go and check that camera, like you're just like we talked about getting in and out of a stand, like you're leaving some sort of scent presence there that is saying, hey, I was here.
Yep.
Right. And, you know, maybe it's a hide in plain sight and you do it frequent enough that they just get used to it. But man, I just think some of those mature bucks just don't like that.
No, they don't. And I know listening to, you know, Josh Omar on one of your podcasts, he's exactly right. I mean, your entrance and exit to that hunting location has to be almost perfect.
Yeah, flawless.
You cannot keep continuously going out and leaving scent and doing those kind of things, because I agree with him. I think it's a red flag to that deer, especially a mature deer. He knows, he's like, something's not right. Something is out of place, and that's going to get me killed. Well,
and I think that's the difference. And it's hard because, you know, even for a lot of people listening to this, like odds are this year, if they kill a big deer, it's probably a 4-year-old, right? And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But when you're talking about like those types of behaviors from a deer, like even a 3-year-old buck, he's still stupid. Like he's still gonna, like, it doesn't matter to a point how you're entering and exit from there. Like as long as you're not bumping him all the time, that deer's still coming through, he's still crushing scrapes. He's just doing deer things, right? When we're talking about that 5-year-old and up class, that's just a different animal at that point. And it's really hard to see, because if you're in a state where, like even in Pennsylvania, it's like, man, if I see a 4-year-old, I'm killing them. Like there aren't that many of them. There for sure aren't that many that are 5+. You get into those mindsets of like, this is just how I hunt and I kill deer this way, and that's the way to do it. And you will, if you want to continue to kill 3 and 4-year-old bucks. But as you get to that 5+ class, especially in high pressured areas, that same tactic will not work.
Right.
It won't work.
Yeah.
And they just know.
Yeah. And they know. And that, I mean, we talk about, I mean, that buck that I'm hunting on one of my local pieces there, that I think he's 8.5. And for deer to get to 8.5 in that area with the amount of hunting pressure that's around there,
that dude's educated.
He's educated, and he's a very, very smart deer, and he's not making a lot of mistakes.
That's it. And that's the we always joke with the Iowa guys about it, but it is true. It's like because of the pressure in most cases, like public land may be a little different, but like from a private land standpoint, because of the number of hunters that can hunt in those areas, the way they hunt it, and the amount of mature deer that they have, like you can get away with a strategy in Iowa on mature deer that you can't get away with in even Illinois, but especially in Minnesota or Pennsylvania or Wisconsin. Like they're educated differently because of the way that people hunt them, because of the way that the seasons are structured, because of the way of the density of hunters in those spaces. And so that's where, we talk about Kansas being one where like we'll go out to Kansas this year. We can be, number one, super aggressive in how we hunt. We can call aggressively, and they will do deer things out there. If I applied that same thing to Pennsylvania, losing season.
Right.
Like it's not happening, right? And it's just those are different deer from an education, from an environment side than they are in some of these other states.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right. Minnesota's, kind of that same way. Gun season comes in that first Saturday of November, which...
Crazy.
Oh, you talk about taking a lot of bucks out of the pool, boy.
I mean that's like peak rut, right?
Oh, it's absolute. I mean, it doesn't get any better. You're talking anywhere between, the 2nd of November and the 6th of November, 7th of November. Every year, that's the window that gun opens up. And, I've always argued, I wish Minnesota would just kick that back just 1 week.
Yeah, just align with like the Missouris and stuff like that.
Right, because Wisconsin gun opens 2 weeks after Minnesota. So there is, and there's a lot of crossover, right? And
sure.
I'm the same way. I hunt Minnesota. We've got family property up in northwestern Wisconsin that we hunt up there. So there's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of Minnesota guys that will hunt Wisconsin, and there's a lot of Wisconsin guys that will hunt Minnesota. So there is crossover, and I see why they try to make sure those seasons don't align up. But even if you kick Minnesota back 1 week, you still have another week until Wisconsin opens up. And I think the age class of the deer in Minnesota would go up tremendously just by pushing that back 1 week.
How long is that season?
Minnesota, well, it depends on which part of the state you're in. There's different seasons once you get down to in the southern half of Minnesota compared to the northern half of Minnesota. And a lot of times I think Minnesota was opening that early because they were doing that for the guys that hunt.
Went up
way up north because, back then when we had cooler weather, cooler falls, things like that, snows, lakes freezing up, all that kind of stuff. So they couldn't, you get up into the boundary waters area and, guys are taking canoes and stuff to get to areas, and now all of a sudden lakes freeze up, they can't do it. So I think the seasons were set up way back when, primarily because of that.
And that was the deer camp lifestyle of Minnesota. Like I remember I used to work
wait, real quick. So how long are they? How long is the gun season?
So I think the gun season in like the northern half of Minnesota will run for that 10 days. Okay. So essentially that Saturday to the following Sunday.
And that starts that early November or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then even in the South, there's, like I said, there's different areas and different seasons. Like you can get the first season shotgun, which runs for, I don't know what it is, like 5 days or something like that. Or you get second shotgun season, it runs for another 5 days after that.
Interesting. Yeah. And you think they're killing more deer in that early November than mid-November?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Interesting.
Because, if you think...
I would just say, I think there's an argument to say I see more rutting activity mid-November than early November.
That's the latitude difference. Like, as you get further north up there, they're going to rut earlier because they've got to they've got to play that winter time frame.
Is
and
that
food
the case?
source and stuff.
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. So, I mean, my general area where I'm at up in the Twin Cities area, you get to that late October, first few days of November, that is like peak pre-rut.
Peak breeding.
Peak pre-rut. Now, the breeding, I would say, will start to happen around that 5th, 6th, 7th of November. So my theory on it is if you kick it back 1 week, you're going to start to get a lot more deer that are heavily into more breeding lockdown. Yeah. Exactly. So the kill ratio is going to go down just based off of that.
Yep.
Interesting.
And that's what'll happen. And that's why, I plan to hunt November on our farm down there, the 8th through the 16th.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm doing that is because up until the 8th, that's prime time up where I'm at. And that's where I need to be. Whereas a week later, that's prime time 6 hours south down in Illinois where I'm at.
Yeah. So are you in a bow zone where you're hunting in your urban stuff?
Yeah, that's bow zone.
Yeah. So even when that gun season comes in early, it's like doesn't matter. Like you're still bow hunting in that area.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and so that adjacent big property is bow only?
Part of it does fall in gun.
Oh.
Part of it does fall in gun because it gets far enough south that it turns into a gun zone.
Oh.
But that property, a lot of that property that's there, they don't allow hunting at all.
Right.
So besides the trespassers.
The random gunshots that you do here, even if they're trespassing, it might be in the gun zone.
Correct.
I see.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to contact that company and align with them in any way or patrol for them or?
Yes. In fact, this is going back a few years ago now. I had a very good relationship with the head of security for the company.
Wow.
And he actually allowed us, we had gate access up into the back side of our urban property that we had that connected to it. We had a great relationship with him. We would kind of watch for trespassers. We would keep them in the loop, all that kind of stuff. And then he ended up retiring and a new person came in and took over. And I mean, they just cut everything off on us. They're like, nope, no more access. We don't allow anything, blah, 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 blah.
Which isn't a terrible thing. Like, it sucks in the case of what you were using it for, but I'd rather them shut everybody out than, shut you guys out and then be loosey-goosey with other things.
Sure.
Like, if they're going to be like, hey, this is completely shut down, then it's like, okay, well, that still benefits us being adjacent to it.
Right, yeah. And yeah, I mean, that is the plus side to it for sure, because I did have a run-in with one of the neighbors one year. He decided, he was living in a house where he had 2 acres. Right, it butted up to all that property, but he thought, well, hey, I'm gonna put this whole trail system in back on that private property, and he was running his 4-wheeler all over through the trail property. Well, he's going through all of the good stuff where the deer were moving through onto my property. And he's out there running his 4-wheeler all through October, November. He's not doing it in the summer because who wants to deal with the bugs and the heat?
Dude, it's amazing how people treat that, and especially in the urban, suburban areas. Like, that's where I grew up hunting right outside of Pittsburgh. Like, they built housing plans around the lone farm that was left, which was my permission farm that I had. It was my dad's best man in his wedding, and so that's what we hunted. And we would be sitting there. And we'd look, and here comes a lady walking her dog, down the trail, and I'm like, "What the hell?" And she's like, "Oh, I just live over here. We were just taking a walk." I'm like, "It's private property."
Yeah.
And it's just these people have no concept of private property. They just see raw green space, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we could just walk our dog over here." And I'm like, "No, no, you can't do that."
Yeah, that is the one thing, growing up, and I mean, I've been hunting this urban stuff for 35 years. I started hunting in my backyard when I was 12 years old with a bow, right? And the one thing that I noticed through all the years doing it is the amount of people that just come onto properties, and you're right, they think, oh, there's woods, there's walking trails, it's free for the public
to use.
Space. It's there to use, and they have every right to do it. And I mean, I've gotten in arguments with people over the years, and they wholeheartedly believe that they have every right to be there and use it. And it's like, no, you're trespassing. It's private property.
It's like, would you want me to walk through your backyard?
Right. Yeah.
And they just can't comprehend that's the same thing.
Yeah. And I could tell you stories of things that happened to me urban hunting that, I mean, you wouldn't even fathom.
Yeah.
Between, people and, kids,
we got time.
building forts on the property.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
kids come back, and I get it. I mean, I did the same thing. I was in my backyard, and I may have gone onto the neighbor's property where nobody ever lived, but it was just woods, and I built a fort
we definitely
or whatever.
Did. When
Absolutely.
I was kids, I was building forts on everybody's property.
Yeah, I had tree stands built in people's property.
I was climbing in people's tree stands.
Yeah,
as a kid, I remember that.
Like,
yeah,
hey,
in hindsight, and he never got pissed off at me. He just, he told me about it.
Told
and
you,
I learned. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, don't do that. And then now I know how to respect people's stuff. You know, but
yeah.
I'm sure he didn't love that.
And like I said, I mean, those kind of things are going to happen, and
times have changed also a lot.
Yeah, for sure. But it's the people that come onto those properties and think they have every right to be there. I mean, I had one 10-acre spot I was hunting for years, and the neighbor. This is a great story. This is how things can go really good sometimes, and sometimes they can go really bad. And I will say, before I get into this, for me, I learned at a very young age that when I had my first run-in in an urban hunting situation with a neighbor, it went sideways and it went bad in a hurry. And at that time, I was only 15 years old.
Oh, yeah.
I was a kid, but this neighbor, I mean, he ripped into me. I mean, and I wasn't doing anything wrong, but I learned at 15 years old after that situation happened, because I ended up losing access to that property from the landowner just because he didn't want to have issues with his neighbor, right?
Yeah.
So I learned that when you're hunting in these urban situations, you want to be a ghost.
You want to be invisible.
Invisible.
Yep.
As much as you can be. And when there's no issues and there's no problems, things go smooth. It's when you have run-ins with neighbors and things like that.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Predator Camo.
Man, this one feels good, right? I know people have been looking at this picture over your shoulder for a while now. I think that was 2018, but we just, over the last, how many years, keep coming back to Predator Camo because it's been so damn good for us.
No doubt. I think we bought our first set off of Jen at the Archer Trade Show almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And Jen's still with the company, and the patterns have only improved since then. They actually were recently acquired within the past couple of years. We've had a chance this past year to go and meet with new ownership, talk about redesigning a lot of the old lines, plans for new patterns, all of the above. So really excited about what's to come, not only this coming year, but in years to come. There's a lot of good stuff coming from Predator.
Yeah, and for us, it's always been going back to that breakup pattern, right? That's the historic look, whether you're talking about the spring greens or brown deceptions or fall grays. Yep. That breakup is really what's been so powerful for us in a tree stand. And right now, they're letting anyone use the code HUNTR on the Predator Camo website and get 20% off any of the lines, including all the new stuff that dropped here in July.
Be the Predator.
So I'll get to this story now on this 10-acre piece that I hunted. I hunted this 10-acre piece, and then there was a neighbor directly to the west on the one side that owned like 5 acres or something like that. And all of a sudden, one day I came to my stand, and there's literally a letter on the tree of my stand. And I'm like, okay, open it up, start reading it, and it pretty much just says, you need to remove this stand from this tree. You're killing the tree, and this is my tree. Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't her tree. Mm-hmm. It was on the property I had every right to hunt. So,
and did you know who the note was from?
Yeah, because she said from the neighbor.
Oh, okay.
And she said her name in there or whatever. So I was like, okay.
And it was the neighbor.
And it was the neighbor. And it was interesting because this 10-acre piece that I hunted was a long rectangle, narrow piece.
Yep.
And the spot I needed to hunt choked down. There was a perfect funnel choke at the very back end of the property. So that's where I needed to hunt. Well, to access that was always the problem, right?
Sure.
Because I had to trample through everything to get back there. But again, I was only hunting that property during the rut, during the time when the deer were moving.
Just
because
moving through that.
Exactly. All the big deer were coming out of the county park across the road.
Yep.
They weren't living back in there. They were cruising that once the rut would go. So I'd have to crash through all this stuff, and I knew I was doing more damage than good. I had already known that at that time.
That's pretty good for a 15-year-old because most of us were just like, okay, I'm in the spot.
Right. But the neighbor that put the note on the thing, they had a long driveway. That went all the way down that west side of that property.
Just paralleled it
all the way down, just perfectly. And it was like, man, if I could if I could just walk down their driveway. But, you know, I'm not going to trespass. I'm not going to do that. So fast forward, she leaves the note. I you know, made the decision. I want to be invisible, but she obviously knows somebody's back here. There's a stand. Sure. She wants it to move. So I go back there and I talk to her. And lo and behold, like I said, I mean, most times it does not go the right way. But in this case, I got to talking to her and I said, you know, here's the, you know, I pulled up a map. I said, here's the property lines. I said, you know, this tree isn't on, and she was adamant that it was her tree. So I said, all right. I said, what if I moved it from this tree to that tree? And she said, that's fine. And I mean, literally it was moving at one tree over. It was a different kind of tree.
What kind of tree was it in?
It was in a pine tree.
And she didn't like that.
She didn't like that. So I said, what if I move it over to this tree? And she said, yeah, I'd be fine with that. I said,
that's the tree.
I said, yeah. And I said, that's great. I know. I said, I'll move it for you. Not a problem. But I said, in return, can I ask something? And she said, sure. I said, would you mind if I walked up and down your driveway to come to my stand? She said, if you move that tree stand from that tree to that tree, absolutely, you can do that.
Wow.
So in hindsight,
did you ask what is special about that tree?
I didn't. No.
You think it's just a soft tree, like a?
I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. And
long time ago too, I guess.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't even want to get further into conversations.
Fluffy if you was don't buried underneath the tree or something.
Yeah, you never know. But it ended up working out great because I had multiple deer that I'd killed on that property that actually died on their property, and they never had they told me, they said, yeah, if you ever have a deer that dies, come get it. I mean, I shot one year, and I'm not kidding, and this is a little graphic, but I hit this buck and he stopped in the middle of their driveway, and it was one of those ones where the bud was
just
pumping and left just a pool in the middle of their driveway. And I felt so bad, but you know, and I told him, I said, listen, there, you know, this is here. I shot a deer and it stopped there, and then it ended up expiring on your property. And she said, I get it. We get it. I mean, the deer get hit by cars all the time.
Yeah.
Not a problem. The rain will wash it away, and she was great. And there was another deer I had shot that literally tipped over and died right in her front yard in her garden. Didn't care whatsoever. So that was one of those situations where it was, you know,
that went really well.
It went really well. And it's difficult sometimes, especially hunting those smaller properties, to be invisible, because it's not so much being invisible when you're hunting. You can do that. It's after, you know, you may shoot a deer or something like that, and it's hard to keep a deer on a 5 or a 10 acre piece.
Yeah.
After you've shot it. I mean,
it is. I mean, that the like suburban hunting side of things is like, and I kind of, we talk about like my blood trailing and stuff. Like that's where I really had to learn how to blood trail, because it was like, it's going to end up in somebody's yard, right?
Yep.
So if I lose blood, I can't just like give up, because then it's in somebody's yard, and then I potentially lose access to this. I mean, I shot one year, I was probably in high school, and it ran up this hill, and I get to this edge of this yard, and I'm like, you know, I got to freaking track this. It was in the late season after Christmas. And I'm walking the yard, I'm like this deer has to be dead. I look, and I'm not kidding, it's dead in their garage. Like it is laying in their garage dead. And I'm like, did they drag it in here? Like what?
Yeah.
So I knock on the door, and this, you know, I don't have my weapon. I left my weapon at the edge of it because I'm now on their property, right? And I knock on the door, and like she comes out, and like here I am, like dressed, you know, I'm a hunter. And I was like, hey,
hands covered in blood.
I was like, I hate to bother you. I was like, I shot a deer down over the hill. It ran up here. I said, it's dead in your garage. And she said, what? I was like, it's literally like, she's like, just get it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So like drag it out and like run across the yard with it down to the woods. But like, you know, I think what was unique about those situations, and I think it ties in perfectly to what you said there, is like my people skills developed really fast because of those scenarios. Like I always had to think a step ahead. In fact, you're from Minnesota, so we used to do deer drives all the time, right? During gun season, we had permission to go through, but like I said, it was a different time. Like you get a verbal permission, you know, you could go. So there's this old swamp that we used to just drive out all the time. And I had like my 8-year-old cousin like down over the hill from me, and we're putting this drive on to the guys up above, right? We have no weapons or anything like that. And they had recently built a housing development up on the one side, but we're 300, 400 yards away from it. And so anyways, we're going along, and all of a sudden I hear just this guy like just screaming, and I'm like, what the heck? And I look down and there's this guy with a dog like confronting my 8-year-old cousin. Well, dude, I was down off that hill. I was 16 at the time. I was down off that hill, walked across water basically on this creek and up in. I'm like, what's the problem? He's like, you can't be here hunting and stuff. I was like, we don't have any weapons.
How do you confront an 8-year-old?
Oh, it was like,
Right.
it's like your typical HOA, head dude.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a newer housing development. And I was like, listen, we don't have any weapons. Like, we're just walking through. He's like, you can't be here. It's trespassing. I was like, no, we have permission. I know exactly who owns this. I said, you could call him. Well, he called the cops on us.
Sure.
And so here come the cops to an 8-year-old and a 16-year-old who have no weapons, who are just walking through. And like the cop was basically like, hey, like you guys are fine, just keep moving. But also having to appease this guy because he's just off his rocker of like,
Sure.
they're trespassing, they can't do this is dangerous. We have this new housing development. And, so as a 16-year-old, I'm trying to like diffuse the situation enough. Now, of course, the next day I drove right back through there. I didn't give a shit what he said, right? Because I had permission to be there. But I could tell you that I was much more invisible moving through the next day, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, as a 16-year-old, how many people have to diffuse a situation like that? But your people skills end up developing really fast in a lot of those situations.
Yeah. And I learned, you're exactly right, because I learned that, back when I was 13 years old, knocking on doors, looking for permission, right?
Mm-hmm.
And back then, times were different.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, and, it was easier to gain, especially when you're a 13-year-old kid and you're walking up to some random person's door.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they look at you and they kind of...
They're like, what kind of a threat could this could be?
And they're like, sure, or whatever. But you build those relationships with those landowners. You get to know them better. You get to talk to them. And I know Lee Ellis, does a lot of that stuff too. But yeah, I mean, I was doing that stuff 35 years ago.
Yep.
Before any, of that stuff came out. And you just, you learn how to talk to people, how to deal with them, how to understand them, how to pick up on what they like, what they don't like. And it's people skills, right?
Yeah.
And the more you get to know them and the more you understand them and the more you treat them with respect and everything, it's amazing what friendships come out of those things and what those people are willing to do for you.
It's a network,
yeah.
That you're building. And I mean, you have to think about it today. Like, I'm not in the backwoods, but I live kind of back by, off the beaten path a little bit. If somebody comes to my door, I'm like, what the hell do these people want? Because nobody comes to my door anymore, right? Like, it just doesn't happen. Versus back in the day, it was like, people knocked on the door all the time. And I'm like, hey, what do you need? Or what are you selling type of thing.
Sure.
So it's different times from that adaptation.
Approach. You have to almost instantly like let them know that you're harmless and why you're there and like help them identify you right on. I did that just the other day. I went to knock on Ohio has like some walk-in public access stuff, but they don't allow anything no corn piles, no cell cameras, no tree stands left in the woods, no of really anything, that the state allows you to do.
No hunter preference or
whatever
presence.
Yeah, exactly.
Anywhere in
that
there,
would be.
yeah.
Unless, and this is a weird thing about that program is you can still get permission to do that stuff and permission to even just go without the permit from the landowner if you go get written permission. Kind of weird. They can still give you permission to do whatever you want, but other people that don't have that permission can get the permit through the. So, anyways,
really?
I went to ask this guy, and he looked at me the same way. He just saw me coming out of this door, and it's like you have to almost be like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah, because it's just not normal anymore.
Yeah.
To ask him, is this the so and so residence? Just want to make sure I'm at the right place. Here's my name here. I'll just let you know who I am right out of the gate, and my parents are this so and so, and they're like, "Oh."
Then the guard starts to come down.
Yeah.
Funny enough, this guy knew my uncle. I didn't tell you this story. And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, I always thought Sam was a dick.
And you're like, yeah, me too.
I'm like, he is.
Me too. Can I come in for coffee? Or you want to talk about
we became good friends pretty quickly on that. We bonded over that.
We have a mutual hate there. Yeah, I get it.
I do like that rush of like, it's really gratifying to walk away from a door and be like, man, I was nervous to, not in this particular case.
Sure.
It's gotten easier over the years, but I remember as a kid. I'd almost have to surprise myself. Like, I'd be like, I'm not going to ask him this time. But then one time, if it just happened to feel right, it was the right moment, I'm just going to pull in there real quick and just make it happen,
Yeah.
You could just get permission like on a whim out of nowhere, and you're like, your whole season can change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember my dad, so the place that we hunted my entire life, it's like where I grew up, how I cut my teeth doing it. It's this little 60-acre farm behind my grandma's house. And he would make me go ask the lady every year. And every year she'd say the same thing. She's like, I don't know why your dad's making you do this. He knows that you guys can hunt forever. Like, it's just whatever you do. But he would make me just go and ask her to like develop like, hey, just go and ask her. It's the right thing to do. Just make sure she says yes and that she knows you're back there. And, you know, and so those were the things that as I started to get older and needed to get permission or had to ask like, hey, I got to go track a deer on your property. You know, you kind of felt more comfortable in those situations.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you know, like I said, times have changed obviously since then as well. So it's definitely a lot different, not just from the non-hunting aspect, but from the, you know, bordering properties. Like it used to be as a hunter, it's like, well, I know I could call John over here and he's going to let me track that deer. Now I don't know if John will let me track that deer next door, right? Because he's managing his place and he's controlling his place, and that's the interesting thing when we talk about like the internal community. It's like, boy, it used to be the non-hunters. You're like, I don't know if they're gonna let me on here. I don't know what they're do, but the hunters, it was like a no questions asked. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Now it's almost the opposite. I'm like, the hunters might not want me to go across the line.
Dude, the recovery thing is becoming like a factor in it. It's like, I don't think 5-10 years ago anybody would have ever, you know, in a hunting community would say, I'm not going to let somebody recover their deer. Just like, yeah, of course, we want the deer recovered. But it's almost getting to a point now, and I think it's like out of, Jeremy and I had a conversation this morning of like suspicion of neighbors baiting or like, you know, abusing the laws and stuff or hugging the line. It's almost, you almost feel, you're like, man, if they're going to call me to recover it, like in an effort to try to like police how they're hunting their or try to get them to do something legal, it's like I may not let them recover it, or I'm gonna use that as an opportunity to be. That's what I said this morning. You know, Jeremy's like, hey, if you know these guys, you know, I have a suspicion that some of these guys are baiting in a non-bait state, and if they shoot this deer that is out there, I almost said, I was like, hey, we'll let you recover it on the condition that you take us to the spot where you shot it, and we'll go from there. You know, and I want to expect how it was done.
Now, is that a big issue in PA in a non-bait state where a lot of guys are baiting?
I haven't killed a buck on the mountain up here that hasn't had corn in its stomach, and there's no cornfields.
There's no corn around.
Yeah.
It's
all
PA
over.
What's the law regarding recovery? Is it a permission or
permission?
You have to have permission to go get it.
Yeah,
there's some states where you don't, right?
I think the warden can maybe override that in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure how the private property laws work. But if you're not getting a warden involved, you need permission to go and look for that animal.
Is that most states you got to have permission? I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah, and in some states, it's they like even if you call the warden, they don't have to let you. We talked about that in Kentucky with my elk. Like they don't have to let you go look for that animal. Even the warden can be like, hey, I trust these guys. Like this is where they doesn't matter. They're just like, hey, it's my property. You're not going over there. Yeah.
Well, and we've had to do it before. Like, I mean, dude, it's not my nature at all to be like, no, we don't want a deer recovered. We absolutely want every deer recovered, but we have some Amish guys in Ohio that were like, it was like every other day, you know, and they're like, oh, we hit one, you know, ran down to so-and-so, and they found like 30% of them. And eventually we had to be like, hey, sorry, like, you know, this can't happen. You know what I mean? We're not going to let you recover them anymore. Or, you know, I think we started more with like, hey, you got to call us every time and we'll start tracking blood on your thing and we'll see what you got. But eventually we'd cut them off. We're just like,
yeah, sure. I mean, from an ethical hunting standpoint, like you're not going to not let them go and find it. But when it becomes repetitive or even suspicious and like, boy, they're really shooting a lot.
What are you doing wrong that they're running onto our property and not dying 70% of the time?
Yeah, right? that becomes an issue.
And you talk about the, you know, having to go on to other pieces of property and things like that. And, you know, we talk about, well, if something does, you can call the warden and you can go out there. Well, that big one that I was chasing, you know, the last couple of years here, last year, he was a deer that was over 200 inches. I mean, I had a buddy that found the shed, so we know,
wow,
yeah, and so we know exactly what he scored.
I think he showed us those sheds, huh?
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, and then, you know, unfortunately, it became one of those situations where I knew when I was hunting him, a deer of that caliber, I had to almost go on the offensive of thinking ahead. Unfortunately, if I do have the opportunity and I do kill this deer, I need to make sure that all my T's are crossed, I's are dotted. You know, you get to that point where it's like, where are we at now? Where now you have to I'm worried about.
Very nice.
Thank you.
You know, number one, making sure I shoot them where I'm allowed to shoot him. And after I shoot him, do I start video recording right away? Here's where he was standing. Here's where I shot him. Here's my arrow. I'm following the blood trail. Just because we're in a point now where if I've got a guy that's hunting a neighboring piece, if he turns out to be one of those people that says, oh, what the heck, he poached him. He poached him. Then he calls the warden, and then now all of a sudden you have to go on the defensive, and you have to prove that you did everything legally and the correct way. And it's just like, to me, it's just like, it's crazy that I have to sit here and not only try to figure out how am I going to get an opportunity to kill this animal, but
how am I going to defend myself?
How am I going to defend myself when I do it? Yeah. I mean, that's the world we live in now.
What happened with this deer?
He's there. He's back.
I saw him last night on camera.
Yeah.
He's still 200?
We're thinking 185 to 190 this year.
Holy cow.
Yeah, he lost a lot of here. I'll show you. He lost a lot of the junk that he threw from the year before, but now he's just a massive mainframe typical for the most part.
Oh my goodness.
Like heavy mass.
What a freaking slammer, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, he's awesome.
So I bet he's all over 85 to 90.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So he went, we talked about it last night, but he went backwards, and that's why I believe that he's more than likely 8.5. I wasn't 100% sure last year. I was like, well, he could be 6.5 this year, and at 212 inches, is he going to explode into one of those deer that goes 230, And he just didn't. He ended up going backwards, so that's why I believe he's probably 8.5. I mean, I know a lot of those guys are saying these days, that 7.5, 8.5, it's their prime year. I
think it depends on the herd dynamics and stuff.
Yeah.
Like if he was breeding a lot last year, there's no way he's going to throw a better rack.
Well, and the crazy thing about this buck, so again, my web and all my connections of people I know and stuff, that buck, the last picture I had of him on, he was living on our property, or just the property to the north. He was living there. I mean,
why is he still alive, Steve?
I know.
This deer should be dead.
I know. Well, came close last year.
You did.
Yeah. So he's living close. He's spending his time there. But the crazy thing is 2 years ago, when I had just a couple pictures of him, he disappeared. Like the rut hit and he disappeared. And I didn't think anything of it last year, because last year he went from a 165, 170 deer to 212. That's what that deer did. So, I mean, he literally blew up.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't really keeping too much track of him. He had a couple pictures and then he disappears, which is not uncommon in that area.
Which, backing up, like, there is his blow up. Like, they always say that he gets one of
year.
those. Yeah. That's it. He put 60 or 70 inches on. That was his one blow up.
That was his 1 year.
Yep.
So he's there. I'm hunting him the following year when he's 212 inches, and the last picture we had of him was on the 30th of October, 29th, 30th of October, and he was on a camera on the far north end of the property, and he was walking north. Nothing unusual. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but
never came back.
He disappeared. He was not back on our camera.
Still sharing this property with that other guy?
Yep.
Are you guys working together on any kind of like food plots or anything?
No, just because we've got ag on the property.
Okay.
There's a big ag field that's on the property, which is beans this year, which I think is hurting us because I think he lives and dies off of corn. He uses corn as security.
Yep.
That's just kind of
my
mindset.
Until it gets cut.
Until it gets cut. And the problem is the field directly to the north of us is corn. And then the one to the west and ours is beans. So he's there, but now the corn is really close to his bedroom.
Yep.
And so he literally has not been moving much.
You're not allowed to bait in Wisconsin, right?
Minnesota.
Sorry.
No, you cannot bait in Minnesota.
Are you you need to get that farmer to leave you some beans?
Yeah, for late season.
Can you do that?
I can talk to him.
It's not that expensive. It'd be like,
it's not. The problem is the farmer, they're just cash cropping that. The landowner's just cash cropping it out, and it's a guy that comes in from down south, and he pulls up, and they take everything out, and they're gone. But I can talk to him.
So are mine. That's how you do it. I got my guy to leave 6 acres. This is the first time I ever ever did it. I just, we had this drought spell here, and I started realizing, I'm like, they're hammering my 10-acre bean field. I'm like, I'm not going to have enough food. I ran out last year. And on top of my green plots don't look great and all this. So I kind of frantically got a hold of our neighbor or our farmer, they're big time farmers. They roll through. Ours is just one of 20 or 30 that they farm probably. Called him up and said, hey man, I was just wondering, I know it's kind of inconvenient for you guys. I was like, is there any way I could buy back, at market value, some of the soybeans that are there? I just want to have something for the deer over the winter type of thing. And, I'll pay, whatever bushel you think you're getting. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, no problem. He's like, where do you want them? And he was like super cool about it. Still hasn't given me a price, but I can run the bushels per acre, and I know what they can sell those for. And so like, it shouldn't cost me any more than, if they're really getting a good yield, $2,500 probably for 6 acres, but they're not getting that premium yield. I'll be surprised if he charges more than like $1,000 to $1,500 for 6 acres. For 6 acres of bean. Yeah, because they've been hammering them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right. That's something that I should probably look into
and do
because
all the difference.
It is, especially
when everything
later
else is
in
on,
the year.
Even like December, like when they are finished rutting, if he doesn't have another good food source like that, he's gonna suck back onto it.
And he comes back. That's the crazy thing. He always comes back. So last year when I was keeping more tabs on him, of course, that last picture, October 30th, he's gone. He doesn't show back up on our cameras until the end of the 3rd week of November.
Wow.
Well, come to find out, reaching out to some of my other contacts and stuff, lo and behold, this guy's got a picture of him here, and this guy's got one picture of him here.
Doing salute.
He was literally at one point over 2 miles away.
Wow. Yeah.
And in the urban area where I'm at, that's a long way. There's a lot of
roads
passing
a lot of bows and guns.
A lot of bows. Yeah, he's running through a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of roads.
Which
he's
is
doing
crazy how he's making it that,
a lot of guys hunting
that
deer.
old.
It's that area. So from having the connections and knowing the people I know that hunt all over that whole area, it's amazing to me how some of those deer are covering so much ground, even in that urban area. It's just mind-boggling. It's nothing for them to go on 2 mile, jaunts and it's crazy to me that they'll do that even in the urban areas because there's a lot of things that can take them out. There's a lot of hunters, a lot of vehicles. Vehicles are the biggest determining factor.
Yeah. I wish we could get some smarter deer like that. Mine can't live.
You guys.
I got less hunting pressure than you got probably, and they can't live past 4.
You guys talk about smart deer, and I will say this: being a hunter that has grown up hunting an urban area and also hunting outside of urban, I'm telling you, urban deer are some of the harder deer to hunt. If you want to kill a mature one,
right?
A mature urban deer, in my mind, is twice as hard to kill as a non-urban.
Well, I think that's just because of all the things he's had to survive against: vehicles, just people in general being around, density of space versus hunters he's going against.
But most people's mindset is, you're urban hunting. That's easy. That's easy to kill. Yeah, it is easy to kill deer if you want to kill a 2.5 or a 3.5. You show me how easy it is to kill a 5.5 in an urban area. It's not easy.
Well, in a non-bait urban area, right? Because if you look at some of these, like the Birmingham or Atlanta, or I think now the Nashville area with the new Tennessee baiting permit you can buy, like you go in and dump a corn pile on a 7-acre urban spot, like he's coming to it.
Yep.
Like he'll be in there, So different ball game than hunting a actual free-ranging, moving urban deer.
Yeah.
That's why, Columbus is so successful in Ohio, right? Like you talked about the parks, you go against all these metro parks, you find a little 5-acre woodlot, you dump a big pile of corn or whatever, and they come out.
Suck them
and
all out.
It's just a matter of timing before you kill them on there.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it is. I'm not saying that it's any less of an achievement, but it for sure is not nearly as hard.
It's not, it's definitely not the same.
Yeah, because there's more of them from a mature buck standpoint in those areas especially, and you're bringing them, like they have a reason to come to that 2 or 3 acre block.
Right.
If it's just natural movement,
they're never going to be there.
Why would they come through that 2 or 3 acre block? Like it's literally pure luck that you're there at the right time.
And if they do come through there, they're more than likely doing it at night.
Absolutely.
Not during daylight hours.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a different beast when you get into those. But I think that kind of style, like you then have that and take it outside, like take that style to your Illinois farm, and dude, you're deadly. Because your brain is functioning on these micro movements that you're seeing in the urban area, and you're applying that now to a deer has deer habitat to utilize. Yeah. And so you're paying attention to things that I don't think you normally would have, but you had to from an urban side when you were hunting that. Like smaller pinch points and stuff. You're like, yeah, you know, normally you'd be like, nah, it's not a big deal, but it's like that could be the only thing that gets them killed on an urban piece of property, right? Yeah. Absolutely. And so you start looking at those types of micro movements, and I think it's a big application. Like that's what pick on Kansas for a while, but like when you have hunters that are hunting those tougher situations and you put them in a spot where there are more mature bucks and they do deer things, I mean, you're just deadly. Yeah. You know, I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but your odds are extremely high because of the style and the tactics you're bringing to those places. And we see that a lot for the way that people hunt.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Deer Grow.
Man, hard to believe, but Deer Grow has been the sponsor that's been there since the beginning of the HUNTR Podcast. Back in 2021, I think that they were the only partner that we had, but it's such a cornerstone brand and set of products for our food plot strategy throughout the year.
No doubt. And it seems like we used to have an off season, but not so much anymore. It's like when the hunting season ends, it really rolls right into food plot season, habitat projects, all of the above. And the Plot Start and Plot Boost have been there since the very beginning. That's a cornerstone for all of our plots. The Plot Start goes on at the beginning, Plot Boost goes on midway through. And since they came out with all of the fertilizers, that gets mixed in with the Plot Boost application as well. And I can't believe the results that we've been getting out of that.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like I said, it's all the work now that really produces the results in the fall. So right now, anyone listening to HUNTR Podcast can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for 15% off any of the products at deergrow.com.
Better food plots, bigger deer.
We talk about, styles and tactics. One of the things that I'm actually getting into this year that I've never done, and now getting it and playing with it, I'm kicking myself because I wanted to start doing it like 5 years ago and I just didn't. You get busy with home life, and I mean, we've all been there, right? But saddle hunting. So I have taken the plunge.
You've done it,
and I sat in the tree for the first time Monday doing it, but I mean, obviously I've been up in trees getting spots ready and stuff like that before, so I've been up in the saddle this year doing that. But
what are you switching from, Steve? What have you traditionally hunted in?
Hang on,
just a lock on stands,
like a brand in particular, or just pre-hung sets, or
just pre-hung sets. I mean, most of my stuff is already done ahead of time. It's pre-hung, it's ready to go, right?
Okay.
I mean,
so like big game, muddy, big box type stands and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I hunt out of a lot of like Lone Wolf, XOP.
Yeah.
Okay. So you do have some of the better stuff, like the old Lone Wolf, or new like custom
old
gear
and
stuff?
new. Old and new.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what I've realized is I think on the saddle side, I'm going to be able to better stay out of that deer's focus. Not that the stand preparation I do is not good, but I like the fact that I can kind of just shift a little bit and I can stay behind the tree depending on where he's coming from or what he's doing. I think it's just a little bit stealthier approach.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I'll be honest too. I mean, I'm 47 years old, and for whatever reason, the last few years, the higher I get in hang-ons and that almost that free floating feeling I get when I'm in the stand, there's something going on with me where I'm starting to not feel as comfortable in them and I think it's just an age thing. Sure. The heights are starting to mess with me a little bit.
You're not going to be able to land on the feet and hit and roll.
Correct. Yeah. And when I was first looking at the saddle, I'm like, I'm 47 years old. Can I do this? I mean, I got up in that thing and I feel way more comfortable.
So what did you get? What was your path to like test to getting into it?
Matt Brewski in our office, he kind of did a lot of research, and I kind of used him as the guinea pig, and he kind of,
that's a good thing.
Yeah, he's trustworthy. He's a good researcher.
Yeah, he kind of led me down the right path. So I think I've got like right now I ended up getting like a buzzard roost saddle, and then I've got hang-free ropes.
Buzzard root?
Buzzard roost.
That's
just it's just a brand of saddle. They're down, I think, in the Mississippi area. They kind of build them all one by one in the U.S. type thing. But again, I'm green, right? This is my first year in a saddle. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see how it goes, but I think, every company makes good saddles. It's probably a personal preference thing. What's comfortable for you? What do you like? What do you don't like? And until I get some time in it, I have no
So have
idea.
you hunted out of it yet, or?
Yeah, Monday night was my first
just
night.
once so far.
Yep, just once so far.
And I assume you practiced over, before the season. You're like, I got it and tested it out and stuff.
Yep. Did all that stuff to make sure I was comfortable, because obviously I don't want to go out there the first time and be
what
like,
was Matt attracted to with that brand? Like, was there some features? Was it just the made in USA? Like what?
Yeah, no, just a lot of the research that he did on it and the customer feedback. Matt's very good about getting online, looking through comments, and I mean, he's one of these very detail oriented guys where he will when he gets focused on something,
he's in.
He goes down the rabbit hole and he's into the comments, and he's all over that stuff, trying to figure out what's what and what guys are actually saying that have used them and whatnot. So yeah, he kind of got me on that thing, and then I think the platform I'm running is a tethered platform. So I've kind of got a hodgepodge of things, but what I've really noticed on the saddle side of things is the more I got into it, and the more rabbit holes I went down, it's like every company seems to have things that are a little bit better than the other company. I mean, even down to the sticks, the platforms, the ropes, the saddles, everything, right? So yeah, mine is literally a hodgepodge. I think I've got a buzzard roost saddle, hang-free ropes, tethered platform.
I think that's the way to do it. Like, you want to find the advantage that everybody's bringing to the table.
Right. Tree sticks are the climbing sticks I'm going to end up using. Now, obviously, on my local piece, I already had a lot of sets set up, so I already have steps and everything ready to go in the tree, so I can literally just get there, pop up, get the platform in, and tie in, and I'm good to go. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. I was telling Jeremy this last night. New property down in Illinois, and I've kind of got a rejuvenation for hunting this year. Where I was telling Jeremy,
because of the saddle, you think?
I think that's part of. I think the saddle's part of it. New property's part of it.
Oh, yeah.
I ended up getting a Rambo bike.
8-year-old to do it too.
Yeah. Oh, I ended up getting a Rambo bike. Like I'm fired up. Like I'm ready. I'm ready for the season, and I'm really fired up. Where I haven't really been that way the last few years. I mean, last year, I got fired up when I see a 200-inch deer on camera, of course, because I mean, how many opportunities most people in their lifetime, they'll never get an opportunity at a 200-inch deer, and here I am. I'm actually hunting a 200-inch deer, and this may be that may have been my only opportunity, but you never know. You got to take advantage of it when you can. But yeah, I'm really excited this year. I'm excited to be wearing Predator Camo.
Yeah.
I was
gonna say, do you think the acquisition of Predator's got something to do with that too? Or
probably.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are kind of coming into place right now that just kind of have me excited again. And for the last 5 years, I've been home life is busy.
Yeah.
I've got 3 boys. I've got 3 boys that play multiple sports. So, I mean, I'm running between work and business and family, home life. It's hard. It's hard enough just trying to carve out time to hunt. And, guys always tell me when they meet me or they know me, or they're like, "Oh, you're the luckiest guy in the world. You got the greatest job in the world. And I'm like, "No, you don't understand.
Yeah.
It's a job." And the majority of my focus and effort is in the job and the company, and it takes.
Yeah, I don't hunt for a living.
No, I do not hunt for a living. In fact, I'm probably hunting way less than they are, and they just think, you get to hunt whenever you want. You get to test you get to do this. No, it's not the reality of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so. I think it's an interesting thing because, like I said, we're closer in age. Jared's the young buck, but like that was kind of my thought process for that elk hunt this year. It was more of a challenge to myself of like just like a big reset of, do something that I haven't done before on public land all by myself. And the outcome was amazing, right? And that wasn't necessarily expected from it, right? I expected to just grind for a week to 10 days and like, hey, I was out there, gave it hell, and it was good to get back to the roots of woodsmanship and things like that. But I think that those resets are healthy because you find yourself, and we've talked about this with whether it's, Lakoski or whoever, it's like you get to a point and it's like, where do you go from there? Right. And the odds are, even the three of us sitting at this, we're never going to be in a Lee Lakosky position of what he's done in his life and his whitetail career and how he's managed and stuff. But, Lee has now turned a lot of his attention to elk because I think he's just exhausted his, desire and fire in whitetail. Sure. And so this whole kind of management of these big properties for elk and growing 400-inch elk, like that's the new, and we saw it. Like when we had him on, it was like he was excited again about something.
Yeah.
And so I think you just have to figure that out, whether it's changing to, something like a more mobile hunting, if it's getting a new property, if it's hunting a new state, if it's, for me here in Pennsylvania, and it's a lot easier now that I killed an elk, I'm going to use just trad bow in Pennsylvania this year.
Nice.
And it's like, I've always wanted to kill a buck with a trad bow and never have, and now if I just dedicate the season, if I end up eating the tag, I eat the tag, no biggie. But like, how cool would that be? Right. So it's just finding those things that are going to light the fire. And again, we only have so much time to get out there and hunt anyways, but it's just, when you do it, it should be easy to be like, oh, I've got time. Like I'm ready to go. Like I'm excited to get out there, because if not, you'll just be like, well, I could go out, but I probably have other stuff. And then next thing you know, it's another week down. And before we know it, we're in November and December. So I think it's a big part of it.
Short window too, right?
Yes.
I mean, the best hunting, it's a short window.
A very short window. Short.
I mean, we wait and we wait and we prepare and we prepare. And then before you know it,
it's gone.
The rear view. Yeah, it's
out.
gone.
Yeah. So are you going to make a pretty concerted effort then to kill this thing in October, knowing that he likely will leave?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we talked about that the other night too. As excited as I was to get this cold front pushing through, it's still early. We're in the front half of October, and my personal opinion is unless you're really close to his bedroom, did he get up and probably move Monday night or last night? Yeah,
probably.
He did, but not very far.
No, you had to be right on top.
You had to be right on top of him, or on a prime scrape, close to where he's at, or something like that. To me, I need that good cold front in the second half of October.
Mm-hmm.
That's the opportunity.
Like you said, short window. Because when it happens, it's like, there it is.
And you got to be there, and you got to be ready to go. Now, thankfully, I've got a very understanding wife, and I've got a local piece of property that's only 10 minutes from my house, so I can get away with it, and I can get over there in most cases. So from that standpoint, yeah, that's good, but I got to be ready to go. Yep. Because I mean, the chances are pretty good that come the end of October, he's going to be gone for 3 weeks again.
Mm-hmm.
And then, now everything is based off a late season, and that's not
if he makes it.
If he makes it. Right, if he makes it.
Has your other guy been in there hunting at all, or are you guys kind of on the same page as far as holding off, or?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. I mean, I don't think my partner's been in there hunting yet this year. He's kind of holding off too until conditions are better.
I thought it was like another guy had permission or something.
He's another guy that has permission.
Okay.
Yeah, there's two of us that have permission on this particular piece of property, and we're the only ones that have permission, thankfully, because the property is owned by a company, and I'm sure there's a lot of employees that would love to hunt that property. But once again, that's a relationship thing, right? We've got a great relationship with the landowner, and he counts on us to watch out for the property. We tell him when something doesn't look right or there's something going on, and he trusts us, and we've had that trust for a lot of years. And now he can just tell anybody else that asks him within the company, no, sorry, I've got guys already hunting. And it's an easy way for him to not upset employees by saying, sorry, there's already guys hunting it,
Yeah. So are you guys coordinated at all then on a strategy for this?
Oh, yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we talk. In fact, the other guy that hunts the property with me, I grew up with him. We graduated from the same high school. His younger brother was actually my age, and we graduated together, and we were really good friends. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we've known each other our entire lives. So
cool.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, yeah, the communication's totally wide open, and
that's a big deal. I mean, it's easy to screw up a deer like that. Just if there's competition, to go on and hunt them first.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you can screw things up in a hurry. I mean, you can bump them, you can push them, you can do weird things, and it's going to happen. But, the urban thing too, though, there's a lot of guys coming in and out that probably don't belong there, or there's people walking dogs, or there's, a horseback rider comes through, or, there's constantly those things. So I think, those mature deer do know to a certain extent really what's trouble and what's not. It's really kind of when you get in there and you start encroaching in their area, and you do it multiple times, like we said, leaving that trail back and forth and all that kind of stuff. That's where you get in trouble. Yeah. And that's where they know. It's amazing how those urban deer can know when they're, with all the sense that they're picking up with people around the houses and things like that, how they can distinguish, okay, I'm good, or okay, this is not good.
Well,
this is not right.
I've and these are the things like we don't understand yet. I fully believe that we as humans are releasing something different than when we're just like out walking the dog or doing whatever and we're in hunt mode, right? Because we say the same thing about scouting. It's like I can go up on the mountain and just be moving cameras and scouting, and I'll have, a buck stand up 20 yards from me and just look at me. Yeah. Right. Whereas like if I'm sneaking through and like still hunting or something, he may stay on the ground and not move at all. He knows that he's trying to be invisible at that point. Yeah. And it's just, I whatever it is that we release that they sense, there's something there that we're putting off from, hey, we're just out walking the dog and doing things and we're not a threat, versus like, and that's why we talk about even like the tractors and things like that in like Illinois. It's like, we're just out on the tractor mowing and stuff, they're just like, yep, farmer, doing farmer things, right? Yep. Versus like we're on a side-by-side driving in and dropping off and then sneaking out, and they're like, wait a minute, that doesn't, who was that? Like that doesn't happen anymore, So it's, there's an acute awareness there for sure that, sometimes we give these deer too much credit, but I think in those situations we don't give them enough credit because we don't understand that side of it, right? It's an invisible factor that essentially is happening between us and the deer.
Sure.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Lone Wolf Custom Gear.
Man, those Lone Wolf stands have become such a cornerstone of our equipment over, recently, but I mean, also we've been using these stands for a long time, even the original Lone Wolves. They're all built right here in the United States. The lines just keep getting better and better. Cody and Andre and the whole team just keep innovating and introducing new stuff into the line this year. And they've got some new things coming this year.
Yeah, so this year we've got the Patriot Series, which, a lot of people are talking about this as being the cheaper, just fixed position side of things. But let's be honest, they can be mobile too, right? They weigh 12 pounds, but they're built from a value standpoint. So for guys like us who want to have 3, 4, 5 preset stands out there for certain wins, we can put this Patriot Series out there, have them ready. Nothing better than slipping up into one of these fixed position stands that's already set on the right wind.
No doubt. And so this year, as of right now, you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR. It's a one-time use promo code. Gets you 10% off anything on the Lone Wolf Custom Gear website. That's any of the custom gear stuff, any of the Patriot Series. So whether you're planning on getting into one for the first time or you want to stack a big order here before the season, code HUNTR will get you 10% off.
Hunt like a wolf. So yeah, I wanted to get into the core resources side because this is, I guess let's first get into the history of it, because we talked last night. You've been with Core for 25 years?
Yeah, 25 years.
So so originally Core was started and owned by your uncle? Is that how it worked? Or was
Yes.
Okay, it was.
So actually it's AJ's dad.
AJ's dad.
Yeah,
okay.
AJ's father started the company back in the early 90s.
Okay.
And before that, even going further back in history, before that, they were actually doing ski wear. They were manufacturing and selling outdoor ski wear.
Gotcha.
And there was, at that time, other multiple owners. My uncle split off from the other owners. Those owners kept the ski wear line, kept going with that, and then my uncle started the hunting clothing line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where Core started, was back in the early 90s doing hunting clothing.
And was that Game Hide, like right out of the gate?
That was Game Hide right out of the gate.
Yep.
Correct. Yep. So Game Hide started back in the early 90s. Uncle got that going. It kind of moved on. Obviously, Core does other stuff, and we've got other labels that we manufacture and sell as well. But it's, Core kind of evolved from there, went on as Game Hide and some of these other labels, and doing some private label business, things like that as well. But yeah, just a family family owned, family run company, and it's been that way for years. And
yeah, I mean, I think some of my, like, once we kind of started having conversation, like a lot of my early hunting stuff was game hide, like whether I bought it from Walmart or who knows, like, you know, I remember like some of my early small game vests, a lot of those we talked about, like just the general orange jacket, you know, like winter jacket for hunting and stuff, you know, was game hide. And it was one of those things that you probably, what we talked about, like, you know, you guys are making garments. Like, I don't necessarily, if I ever knew what brand I was buying, right?
But probably not.
It was doing the function that I needed to do, and it was probably at the price point that I wanted to buy it at.
Right.
And I guess it was that kind of the business model, like out of the gate.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the business model was provide quality clothing at a good price.
Yeah.
I mean, that is still the game hide mold of business. You know, we provide quality clothing at a good price.
Yeah.
And keep it that way. We don't run off of super high margins or anything like that. You know, and game hide as its own main business, we're doing everything, right? We do the big game camo, we do upland, we do ladies, we do youth, we do blaze, you know, for the gun hunters and things like that. So game hide is doing that whole umbrella.
Yeah.
What do you think gives game hide like a competitive advantage in that space? Is it you guys are able to offer that price point for a certain reason, or it's because of the relationships with retailers, or?
Relationships, yeah. I mean, obviously a lot of it comes to relationships, but the one thing that really I think kind of sets us apart over all these years is, you know, we manufacture and we ship on time. And that's a big thing for a lot of our customers, I think.
And that's unique?
It's unique, yeah, because there's, you know, in 25 years, there's been a lot of hunting clothing companies that I've seen come and go.
Yeah.
I mean, there has been, you know, they kind of come in, they may grab business here, they may peak there, but before you know it, 2 years later, it's like all of a sudden they're gone. You know, there's very few hunting clothing companies out there that have stood the test of time. And one of our big things that we hang our hat on is, we're going to continue to ship you quality product at a fair price. And that's, you know, that's the right, wrong, or indifferent. The majority of the guys that are out there that are hunting are your, whatever you want to call them, weekend warriors, or
they're blue collar hunter.
Yeah. And those guys need something to just get them by for that short period of time without having to spend a lot of money.
Yep.
And that's the niche that game hide fits. And our customers, you know, rely on that business, because that is a big part of the hunting business that's out there.
It's the majority of hunters.
It is.
I mean, we talked about that, you know, last night, is that, you know, we look at kind of how everything that we just talked about and how, you know, engraved we are in hunting and how big of a part of our life it is. But the mass numbers of hunters out there, 90+% of the actual number of hunters out there are the opportunistic guy who goes out on a weekend or 2 or 3, you know, depending on what kind of weapon he's using and what state he lives in. And yeah, he has, you know, a few pieces of garments hanging up, and if it's bow season, he wears the camo. If it's gun season, he wears the orange, and like then it goes right back up there, and weapons go back in their case, and like, you know, he moves on to whatever, fishing, watching football, like something else, right? It's just another thing in their life. Yep. And that's not a disrespect to him, because that, like I said, that's the mass number of hunters. We need those people. But when you look at it from a garment and product level, you know, that guy's not going to go and drop $400 on a jacket that he's going to use one weekend, you know, and then hang back up.
Yeah, there's no need to.
No.
And we love those hunters. I mean, I love all hunters. I mean, we need to get more hunters out there. I mean, we just do. COVID helped a ton with that, right?
Yep.
I mean, we had a resurgence. But at the end of the day, I mean, I love all hunters. I mean, I just love the fact that guys get out there and hunt.
Yep.
I mean, that's what I want to see. I want to see everybody that can get out there and enjoy that experience and have that experience at some point in their lives.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's still a lot of things we can do as a hunting industry to improve on that.
Like what?
But well, I mean, there's some great programs out there, like what Ray Howell's doing over at Kicking Bear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's huge.
It's a big program.
What is that? I mean, I've heard of the Kicking Bear program. What do they do with that?
So Kicking Bear is really it's a youth program where he goes out and gets more and more youth into hunting, or even troubled youth or youth that, you know, parents don't have the means nor the money to maybe get their kids into that, but they want to maybe share that hunting experience with them.
So what do? They take them. Where do they take them?
They take them out. They do these big events where they'll get all these kids together. And I mean, some of these events that Ray's getting together, I talk to Ray, you know, probably every couple weeks to a month. And I mean, these events that he's putting together, he's got thousands of kids at some of these events.
Sturgis is doing, you know, he has a big fundraiser.
We've got dinner with Ray before, and it's it's very intriguing. I've always wondered like what happens, like first of all, what that event looks like, and then. And kind of the root of what I think happens is like these kids probably don't have a place to go hunt after the fact.
Correct.
You know, I mean, that's the problem with recruitment. It's like, great, we can get them fired up about hunting, but go find a place to hunt.
And that's part of it. Yeah, they'll get these kids together and they'll get individuals to help take these kids out and get them that experience and that exposure in the hunting side of things. So, you know, I think, you know, I wish we had about a dozen more. Kicking Bear organizations in this country, because what Ray's doing over there to get kids into the sport of hunting it's simply amazing. Yeah, what he's been able to do.
Yep. No, I think that's a big one, and I mean it's you know it's part of that adaptation that we talked about before of like just how times have changed, and it's, you know, I think we sometimes rag on Mike Rex from Ohio a lot, but I think he said it best, you know, in our podcast, and that it's kind of the erosion of the American family, right? Like that change over the last 20 to 30 years has really changed how people come into hunting, right? It used to be you were part of the American family and somebody in the American family hunted, whether it was dad or grandpa or uncle or whatever, and that's how you got in. Now it's not anywhere near that type of situation. Like, in fact, the more that we hear from people, it's a neighbor, you know, or it's a buddy from high school, you know, and it's late adaptation. It's not like, hey, I remember, you know, being 8 years old and finally being allowed to go to deer camp for a day, and it was like the greatest thing ever.
Oh yeah.
That's not how today's society is from a hunting side. They may pick it up as a 17-year-old because their buddies are out hunting. They're like, hey, I'd love to go with you guys. It sounds cool.
Or a 17-year-old that is now done with sports.
Yeah.
I mean, youth, right, wrong, or indifferent, youth in sports has changed unbelievably.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've got 3 boys in sports. They're doing multiple sports. My oldest is a junior in high school. My next oldest is a freshman in high school, and then I've got a 5th grader, a 10-year-old that's lagging behind. So, you know, the demand and the time for these sports that they get from these kids, and here I am, you know, I have a hunting business.
Yeah.
I love to hunt. My kids, I've obviously introduced them into it. They love to do it, but they don't have time.
Sports is between travel leagues, AAU, all this stuff. It's like, when we grew up, it was like, it was fall, you played football. It was winter, you played basketball. It was spring, you did track or baseball. Like, whatever the season was, you played the sport. But outside of that, it was like, there really wasn't anything except for like
there
Legion
wasn't the
ball
travel.
And stuff.
There wasn't AAU. Legion summer ball was like
that was it.
That was it. That's really all you had.
Now it's like all year. Like I just was talking. Well, JD's daughter playing softball. She's like, yeah, we got softball games this week. I'm like, is it fall ball? She's like, well, it's just travel league. Like, it just doesn't stop. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, and the unfortunate thing for a lot of those kids, I had a huge rant with one of our coaches. So my kids are big runners in cross country, and like our team is like 7 boys, which when I ran, we had like 20.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't understand like why we're not getting kids out for cross country. And they're like, well, there's 40 kids on the soccer team. And I'm like, well, what about cuts? They're like, we don't do cuts. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, we don't, you know, if they want to play soccer, they're on the soccer team. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, it's not a disrespect to the kids.
You're like, that's where track kids come from.
Yeah,
they get caught from the soccer team.
They get caught from the soccer team, and all of a sudden they realize, wait, I might not be good at soccer, but I'm really good at running, and they find their new sport. With no cuts, these kids don't find their new sport. They're stuck in a rut, and then they're sitting on the bench for a half and change, and it's like they're never going to go anywhere in that sport.
They don't do cuts.
There's no cuts.
Wow.
Well, and that, and I mean, a big part of that is society in general.
It absolutely is.
You know, they don't want to hurt anybody's
participation
feelings, right?
trophy feeling.
Exactly. And
but they're doing the kids a disjustice because the kids that like didn't make the basketball team found something else. Maybe they wrestled. Maybe they did something. You know, they found a different sport to do if they wanted to do a sport. And now it's just this inclusion policy. Well, some sports are lacking people. The kids who are playing the sports that they think that they want to never play. They're never going to go anywhere. There is no scholarship future for them, right? It's purely a social type of thing. And it's like that entire dynamic plus the travel and AAU and all this, it's like it is a insane setup for kids to have to focus on like one singular thing and not be able to do other things like hunting.
And don't forget they have school on top of that. So it's excuse me, it's very difficult for kids these days. And I feel for my kids sometimes because my middle he's diehard into fishing too.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll come home and he'll literally go hit the local pond and if he's got a half an hour or an hour before he's got to go,
he's there.
Yep. He's down there and he's there and then he's back and he's running off to sports. But at the same time, I feel bad because I know he wants to hunt more, you know, as does my older, but between school and keeping grades up and doing the sports,
no time.
It's not there. Now, the only hope that you have to have in all this is once they get through that stage in their life, will they still have that fire and ambition to come back and do it? And that's my main focus, right? I got to make sure when they're done with all this at the end of the day that they want to come back and they want to do those kind of things because that's her future.
Yeah.
Right?
High school sports will be in the rear view mirror, and it's like, what do you do now?
Yeah, you'll never think about it. You'll never care about it again, right? Once it's done and it's over with.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's a really challenging thing, and you know, and especially when it's like there's cool opportunities, like talk about the Illinois farm and stuff. Like I get my kids to our Ohio farm every once in a while, but like not nearly as much as I'd like to because we have sports. Like we're looking at it. I think not this weekend. Next weekend's like our last soccer weekend. So then it's like I can see light ahead of that of like, okay, there's a few weekends there that like if I don't go, then they aren't going, right? So you kind of have to try to line those things up. But yeah, it's really tough, and you can't blame the kids. Like I mean, they're basically being told like, hey, if you don't play the sport and then play the travel and do this, like you're never going to get looked at by a college recruit.
You got or you're not going to play.
Yeah, or you're not going to play.
That's their biggest fear, right? They get, and every sport demands that.
Yeah.
Even to the point now where I get upset because, you know, a kid that's playing multiple sports, they'll tell you that they love multiple sport athletes. But yet
they don't.
Every coach in every individual sport is demanding that they do this and they put all of this time into this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a reality.
Mm-mm.
It's not a reality. And that's the part that upsets me the most because I look back at how I grew up and I played multiple sports, and my personal feelings on that were I was a better overall athlete
you were an athlete
because I played multiple sports. You're using different muscles, different, agility
hand-eye
things, hand-eye.
You're running.
Everything is different. And I will say, I mean, knock on wood, my junior in high school, he plays 3 sports. He's got baseball, football, and basketball. And between those 3 sports, he is one of very, very few kids, knocking on wood again, that hasn't gotten hurt in
injury.
some way or another through injuries. I mean, these kids these days get injuries.
There's no break.
Because there's no break. But by playing the multiple sports, I think those kids are the ones that seem to be the ones that are getting the least amount of energy
because they're using different muscles or strengthening different things, and they're not hammering the same thing
all
over
year on the same sport and the same muscles and whatever. So
yeah, it's wild, man. It is. It's a really tough one. I mean, for a kid who's coming up and is athletic and loves sports, but also loves to hunt, there's something has to give, essentially, is to be able to do it all.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it's the hunting that has to give, because they know if I don't do this, I'm not going to play.
I'm not going to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the best thing that ever happened to me was getting hurt.
I was going to say, that's kind of what set you back.
It got
right?
me out of sports. Yeah. Well, I think sports are great because it's like there's a respect, for like the coaches and stuff and like the team element that I think I got that, through elementary school and middle school. But then when it started to like get serious, I got hurt like freshman year. I had a motocross accident. And so it's like no more wrestling, no more football, no more contact sports.
Sure.
And I was like obviously super bummed about it at the time. I was like, wrestling is my life, and I was like, little did I know on the other side of that was hunting, which I had done before, but it was like it was getting the back burner probably because of the sports schedule. And that was my opportunity to that's when I dug back in full bore. I did weightlifting and I did some bodybuilding for a short period of time when I was like 18, 19. And I'm still passionate about the fitness element of it, but I put everything into bow hunting at that point.
And see, I was the complete opposite. I also played sports in high school, but I was so into hunting.
Yeah, that's how I was.
That literally my senior year, I said, that's it. I'm done, because the 2 years prior to that, I'm sitting there and I'm playing football, and the football coach is saying, and I want to go opening of deer hunting with my dad and all my uncles and do that, right? And my football coach is saying, no, you need to be at practice or you're not going to play. So here I am. I'm sitting at home doing football, and all I care about is being up at deer camp.
Right.
And I'm like, I can't. And finally it got to my senior year and I said, I'm done. I choose hunting over sports. So I was the complete opposite. And at the time, I think it was tough for my dad and stuff, because I was an athlete, I ran track, I played football, I did baseball in the summer, whatnot. But yeah, I think my dad was probably a little heartbroken, but at the time, I still look back and I'm like, that was the best decision of my life, because that senior year, I think that was that fall leading up to my senior year of high school is when I killed the biggest deer of my life with a bow, 179-inch buck, and I was
well worth it.
I was like, this is I made the best decision ever.
Well, it's got to end at some point, right? Like, and I've been more cynical about that than I should have in the past, but like sports are not something that you're going to do your entire life. Like for 99% of people, they're an awesome thing. Like in adolescence and stuff, there's a lot of lessons that come from that and stuff, and physical benefits and stuff too. But you're nobody's gonna play sports your whole life. Maybe you're gonna play like a softball league at church or something.
Sure.
Like, something recreationally. But like, dude, hunting is something that, like, granted, most people are not gonna make hunting a lifestyle either, in terms of, at least to the level that some of us choose to take it to. But it is something absolutely that you can take and do through the rest of your life, and it's, I don't know. It's not like everybody can do hunting for the rest of their life either, but like it does translate to me. I was really glad that mine ended when it did, and you made a decision, which is interesting. I bet not a lot of people do that.
No, probably not.
Year of high school.
Especially these days, it probably never happens.
I think a lot of people are like lost. Like they finished sports at the end of high school or even college. They played through college and they're just like,
they've been out.
Now I just work, I guess. Like
they've been out of it so long. At that point, it's hard to get back into it, right?
Absolutely.
And that's where, like I said, I've got to put the focus back on making sure when my kids are done with that stage of their life that, they get reintroduced and they get back into it, which I think they will. They have the drive and they have the want to do it, and that's a lot of times the hardest thing, right?
Yeah,
is getting that drive and that want out of that kid to actually go out and do it.
It's a really kind of unique thing you see in the process, especially like when the kid's in high school, even with all the sports, like they're home, they have asset, the parents are there to kind of encourage it. Like I know when I went, like my freshman year in college and I lived in the dorms, I had to keep my bow at the police station, the campus police station. And so I was running cross country in college. So my afternoons were wiped. I had practice, right? So basically the only time I had to hunt was in the mornings, and whether I skipped class or whatever, didn't matter. But I would end up going to the police station at like 4 a.m. and every time would scare the shit out of the police officers knocking on the window at 4 a.m. and I, in full camo with face, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going hunting on the mountain. And eventually they got used to me being there, but for the first few times they're like, the hell is this? And it's just because nobody else was doing that. Nobody else was coming to the police station at 4 a.m. to get their bow to go hunt on the mountain and then bring it back before they went back on campus.
Yeah.
And so, like, you start to, in retrospect, you start to think about, like, how, like, there just wasn't other people doing that. Like, you were kind of a rare breed doing that type of stuff. And but to me, it was like, yeah, when else am I going to hunt? Like, that I have to go out. I have to have my bow to go do that stuff.
And see, I'm the complete opposite there again, because I chose a college that was in a prime hunting area.
There you go.
And the decision was easy for me to make, because it was like, okay, there's great hunting around here, there's great fishing around here.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like that.
I'm focused.
Align. Yeah, I'm focused more on that.
Too.
Yeah. So I mean, I went to college out in South Dakota. And our dorms were the same way. You couldn't have a weapon in your room, but they had a place within the dorm that everybody kept that stuff.
Oh, wow.
And it was second nature, just because there were so many kids that did hunt.
Yeah.
So it was nothing to go in there and get your shotgun or whatever it may be, your rifle or whatever.
Again, how times have changed.
Now, yeah,
maybe not in South Dakota,
it's maybe not that way there anymore. I'm sure some of that has changed for sure, but boy, yeah, I mean, what a great opportunity. You just you've got your guns right there in the dorm, and
that's why most of all my roommates, like, we would go hunt. Like, I remember going and shooting pheasants, and like that's what we ate for dinner for the week. Or if one of us shot a deer, it was like, holy shit, we can actually eat meat this week. It's not just ramen noodles or whatever. Yeah.
You can't even believe the amount of flack I got in college, because I had a nickname, and I can't remember at this time what it was now.
Oh,
but
sure you can.
Cooking the pheasants, cooking pheasants in a crock pot in my dorm room.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I lived off of pheasants.
Oh yeah.
I ate pheasant all the time in college.
Yeah.
And I cook them right there in the crock pot. Old school cream of mushroom soup. And,
whatever.
whatever you wanted to do. But yeah, it would stink up the floor of the dorm room, and
yeah. That's just part of it.
After a few times, everybody knew who I was and what was going on, and yeah, I caught some flack.
I had like a little hot plate in my dorm room, and I just like throw back straps on it, and just cook them right there. And I was like, what else am I gonna eat? Like, I can't go I don't have money to go buy meat, so like that's what it is.
No, I was the same. I didn't grow up with money. I didn't have money, so it was like, I was literally between pheasant and deer. Yeah, you're dove. When dove season was in, and fish. That
was it.
Yeah. I was living off of that stuff. It was either that or Totino's Pizza, right?
Oh, yeah, man. Which those were banging, too.
Oh, yeah.
Little buff tick calzone. That's what I did in college.
Yeah, no, those are good. But, yeah, I mean, that was the thing. And, like, even now, like, thinking about my kids who are 13 and 9, I'm like, I don't know what college looks like for them. Like, I have no idea, like, what that looks like or what they do and how they experience the outdoors even off of that, if they're at a distance from me, because I'm the catalyst to get them out and do that stuff usually. I mean, at some point they grow up, they have to make their own decision of whether they want to do it or not.
Yeah.
But you still, even when I was in college, my dad would be like, hey, you coming home to hunt this weekend? I'm like, sure. Like, yeah.
Do your boys hunt with you at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Are they like into it, or some more than others, or?
No, they're into it. I mean, they're not. So my oldest, if he has the opportunity to go and do it, he'll go and do it. But does he,
like, on his own, or he wants to come with you, or? I mean, he's what now? 17, 18?
He's 17 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a junior. He's 17 now, but he is definitely more focused on sports right now than anything else. So like I said, if he has the opportunity, so for instance, next week the kids have what's called an MEA break. It's a school teaching break where the teachers do stuff for that Thursday and Friday, so the kids have school off. Well, I take the boys, the two older boys, I take them fishing every year over that MEA break. So we'll go fishing, and it's interesting because they get fired up about it. I mean, they know it's coming up, and they get fired up. They talk about it. They're like, where are we going? Where are we going? And usually we go, we're going all the way up to like Lake of the Woods, the Rainy River up there in the fall. It's a big run with the walleyes coming in the river up there. Yep. So we usually do that every year, but this year I kind of threw them for a little bit of a loop. I said, we're going to South Dakota. So we're gonna go back out to my stomping grounds out there where I was out there in college. Fishing still, okay. Yeah. And I mean the fishing out there is phenomenal.
That's walleye too, right?
Yeah, we'll be chasing walleye, but there's a lot of like pike and white bass and I mean perch, you name it. I mean it's good for everything, but we'll be focused on walleyes for sure. But they're a little like, why aren't we going to Lake of the, they're a little confused right now, like why are we changing this up or whatever? And I'm like, because it's something different. Like you guys need to you need to experience some different, fishing opportunities as well as hunting opportunities. So but yeah, they are into it for sure. I'd say my middle son, he's definitely more into it. I can see him being a lot like me. Like I can see right now in his head with the fishing side of it, and he's definitely like he's leaning more away from sports and wanting to do that stuff more and more. So I kind of see the progression that I had there when I was that age. So I think he's really going to be the one that's diehard. And then obviously, my 10-year-old, you don't know. I mean, he's excited. Like he wants to so next spring he'll go turkey hunting. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. This spring was his first year out hunting, turkey hunting. So, and it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of nice because they can shoot a crossbow. He can, even at 10 years old, it's very, I mean, you give a kid crossbow these days with what they do on their gaming and all that stuff. Yeah, it's like they pick that thing up and they go,
yep, done.
It's right there. It's done. I'm ready to go. I mean, it's amazing what they pick up from their video games and how it translates over on that side. But and he was excited as can be. So yeah, I think they're into it. I just think, the sports thing, again, takes away a lot of their opportunities. So I'm looking forward to the days when they will have more time and they will do those things.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Beast Broadhead.
Dude, Beast Broadheads. Man, we've been advocating for and shooting expandable, especially big expandable broadheads for years and years now. And it just seems like they just keep making them better and better. And ultimately, with the relationship we forged with the Bowmars this past year, we're just super excited to be shooting the Beast Broadheads this year.
I mean, this broadhead it's the world's sharpest expandable broadhead out there. It has best penetration, and it's got bone avoiding technology. Ultimately, we want to create the most trauma possible on a deer when we release an arrow. The Beast Broadhead does that for us every time.
So right now you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for a discount on anything on the Beast website. So definitely go check out beastbroadheads.com. Well, let's go back to the core thing, and we were talking about your uncle started that, and then so what was kind of the progression? As far as you now are the owner of that, correct?
Correct.
And then if you want to get into what Predator happened like here more recently and stuff, and
so Game Hide went along as it did over all the years. So Game Hide's still there. Game Hide's still strong. We caught wind of an opportunity on the Predator side early last year. We had kind of heard some rumors, heard some things that they may be looking to sell, and at that time we kind of got in contact with Frank Hood, who was the owner of Predator at that time, and that's the Hood family who started Predator.
Long time owner, right? Like when did they start that?
They started Predator like I think in the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah. So it was very close to Core's time frame.
Yeah, it was like right after kind of the boom of like Bill Jordan's and all of that, and like because Bill was I think 84, 85 around the Realtree side, and I think Predator was like 89 maybe, 89 or 90.
Yeah. Okay. So they've been around for a long time. And I mean, I remember even as a kid hunting, I mean, Predator was pretty dang cool.
It seemed like it was the pattern of like the Midwest is how I would have described it, from like a prior to, and no knock to like a Realtree or Mossy, but like prior to like the commercialization of like camo, like as we knew it as the industry, like the pattern of choice for like guys that you were like, hey, those guys are successful hunters, was Predator in the Midwest.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, you look back and there were guys like, I always think about it and I'm like, guys like Miles Keller.
Yep.
stands out in my head. Miles out there wearing Predator, killing giant bucks year after year.
I know Andre DeQuisto was wearing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things that I've known about Predator for a long time. Always liked Predator, loved the camo patterns. So yeah, we started doing some digging and started talking to Frank, and the process just kind of kept going along, and just like anything, Frank, it's a family-owned property or company, just like Core, right?
Yep.
And I sit here and I say, I want Core to continue, and I want it to stay a family-owned business or an individual. I mean, Core hasn't always been owned by just family.
Right.
There's been other individuals as well, but I want to keep it that way because there's so few companies out there these days that are privately held companies.
Yeah, most of them are conglomerate funded money,
right?
Type capital group money.
And I think it's just easier for people in the industry to connect with, like you guys when we first started talking, you guys came down to our office and we met and we talked or whatever.
We didn't know, man. Like I remember, so not to interrupt, but like Chris, I heard rumors that Predator sold, so I reached out to Chris, and we had talked with Chris before. Like I said, there's pictures of 17 and 18 up here. We've been wearing it for years, and I said, he was like, yeah, we sold. He's like, at that point, I think it was still in process. He was like, so hey, when it's done, I'll let you know who it is, and I'll introduce you to those guys. And then he was like, Core Resources. Well, immediately because of the industry, I'm like, great, like this big freaking company bought them, like how's it going to get folded in, like, and then I'm like, okay, they own Game High too, so like what's the plan here? And then when we came up, it's like, oh no, it's a family owned like small business, and I was like, oh okay, this is good, this is what we wanted to have.
Yeah, and like you said, you came up there and you met us, and you sat down, and like I told you, I said, it's easy to work with people like that because like we're sitting here and we're talking right now. I mean, you're talking to the owner. I mean, you're talking, to a person that makes decisions, right? And it's very easy to just sit down and be straightforward with somebody and say, hey, I like this or I don't like that. And we're just talking to each other as individuals, right?
Yep.
We all have the same goal and we all have the same focus in mind. It's just, I think it's much easier where you get into some of these other places and it's layers, right?
Yeah.
It's layer after layer after layer. And a lot of times you never even get to the right layer. You never get answers on a timely basis. You're just kind of always sitting, wondering what's happening, what's going on. I don't want to run a business like that.
Yeah.
And I don't want somebody to have a business that I've put blood, sweat, and tears into for all these years to be like that.
Yeah. Well, and like I think the first thing that we, talked to you guys and Matt and AJ about when we were up there is like, it's a perfect time in this space because, if you look at the serious whitetail guy, I would say that most of them are wearing three things. They're either wearing Sitka, First Light, or Kuiu, of which Kuiu doesn't care about whitetail guys at all. Not at all. They make good clothing, for sure. They don't care about us. Sitka is already on the mindset of becoming the next Mountain Hardware type company. So hunting will still be a thing, but they're looking at lifestyle, the next outdoor brand, right?
Sure.
And then First Light has its issues with as being what we talked about with the private equity money, right? Of a group who doesn't like hunters at all,
right?
Like very well known. And so it's like, and also they're very Western focused too.
Yeah.
So it's like, here we are as the whitetail guys and, the predominant hunter in North America. And we're like, boy, nobody really cares about us. Like we need a brand and we need a pattern and we need apparel that is quality, that the patterns are going to work for every situation that we have, and that actually is going to listen to us and not charge us $800 for a jacket, right? Because to our point before, like even the serious guys that are listening to this, a lot of them are like, I'm not going to pay $800 for a jacket. That's crazy, right? Because I'll use it, but that's a stretch for me to tell the wife what I just spent on something. So like when those things look at a lineup, it's like there's a bit of a gap there for who is paying attention to in particular, the Midwest and the Northeast whitetail guy, which is the majority of the hunting community.
Yeah, and we saw the same opportunity, obviously, and really for us, it's like, okay, if we can buy a brand that's already established, it's huge. Number one, because we're not starting from scratch as core under a new label or something like that. This is already a brand that's established and has a diehard following.
Yeah,
I mean, Predator and Predator's customers, they are diehard customers
for sure,
and we love that. And we're going to do everything we can possible to keep that integrity and keep it going. And that was the one, opening that we saw with purchasing Predator. We said, okay, they've got a following, they've got the customer base already, but we think we can take that to the next level. Not saying that Predator was perfect. I mean, Predator's got patterns that are they're still the very first patterns.
Oh yeah.
Fall gray, spring green.
Yep.
You name it. And now this year, one of the things that we brought back is fall brown, which
people sounds like they went nuts for.
Yeah, they really have. And it's a great pattern, the color tones, everything about it. So you've got a camo pattern that has literally lasted a long time. I mean, there's no other camo pattern really out there that has lasted like Predator has lasted. And the big reason for that is because it works.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is an interesting conversation, because as you reflect on the real trees and the mossies and releasing new patterns all the time, it's like, if it works and it's that good, like why? Like why release a new pattern every year or a change every year? Like if it's the right one, like you can continue to work on the apparel and stuff. But I would say that's probably the big difference with Predator, right? Is those guys primarily are camo patterns that are licensed. You guys own a camo pattern or set of camo patterns, but you're also producing and manufacturing garments.
Correct.
Which those guys aren't doing.
Yeah. And to further that on the Predator side, we took, not that Predator was perfect. I mean, they definitely, they had some snags, I think, in how their sizing was running.
We talked about the sizing stuff. Yeah.
From a style here to there, which can happen in the apparel manufacturing world. I mean, obviously 25 years of doing this and working with factories and stuff, until you get consistency and start working with the same factories and get that consistency through, it's hard to get that. And it's hard to get that when you're dealing with multiple factories and whatnot. So that was the main focus for us was, okay, we are going to take this and we're going to rejuvenate it. We're going to put some money into it. We're going to get some new styles, some new blood going in there. And we're going to get the sizing side of it figured out. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have seen so far is, there was a lot of guys coming out right away saying, well, boy, this was kind of screwed up and they kind of had that screwed up. And I don't know if I give them another chance, and I don't know. And lo and behold, some of these diehard guys actually said, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to order some of this new stuff. And we're already starting to see that feedback come back where they're like, yeah, they nailed it.
Yeah.
They have the sizing is correct now. The quality of the fabrics that are being used on some of this new stuff is great. And, that's what we were hoping for. And I think that is a big key. And not only that, having the right price points. Yeah. Right. I mean, we're bringing a little bit of the game hide mentality into that, because at the end of the day, we know we can build a high quality product that is every bit as good as a Sitka or a Kuiu or something like that, but we're going to give it to the customers at a fair price.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of how our motto's been. And
that's a hard thing for people to believe, Steve, right? Just because of the way that the line in the sand's been drawn, and they look at, when they think of Sitka and Kuiu and they look at the prices and the quality of stuff, that they're like, okay, like there's no way, right? That would be the rebuttal, is they're like, there's no way that you're telling me you're going to make apparel that's as good as them for significantly cheaper. But it's because they don't understand the margin games, right, and how those are being played from, whether it's a Gore or whoever, from a parent company standpoint.
And in all fairness to them, the average guy out there, he's not going to know the margin game. He's not going to know those little nuances of how a business is and how they work and how they decide to operate. They're not going to know that, and quite frankly, they don't have any reason to know to have to know that, right? But yeah, that is a big part of it. I mean, the margins that your Sitkas and Kuyus are running off of, being in this industry and doing the same thing and
They're
producing
giant.
the goods, it's huge. And we just look at it and say we don't think that that's right to go after those kind of margins. We can make things work and still offer a fair price for a high quality garment.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I think that's the big piece of looking at it and saying, especially for the whitetail guy, right? Like if you look at Kuyu's target, like they're targeting cheap guys and adventure type hunters and stuff, and they're capturing a lot of the quote unquote wealthier, whitetail guys, right? Because they're like, I want the best, right? And so, but if you look at that most of that audience, money's not really an option.
right.
Especially when they're talking about gear or you're going in the high country after sheep, like you want the best. So, but if you look at the whitetail guy, most of which who are, median household income is whatever, 75 to 150,000 type of range. Those guys are sitting in a spot where they want really good gear because hunting might be their thing. Like outside of work and family, that's what they have. And so they want good gear. They want gear that's going to keep them warm or keep them dry or break the wind or whatever it might be. At the same time, like if they're staring at, $1,500 on a Sitka bill, they're like, there's no way I can that's my mortgage.
Yeah.
Right.
That's modest. $1,500.
Yeah. But that's a jack in the pant.
I've built a cart before. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like literally like that's my mortgage. So I'm like, it's to then look at them. What are the options underneath? And again, just picking the players in the game. It's like, you've got Nomad, you've got Element. Those guys, I think, cater to the South a lot, right? Cause they're very mossy oak heavy driven, in that side, the bottomland style of things. And so, if I'm looking at where the majority of the whitetail hunters, it's in the upper Midwest and Midwest, and it's in the Northeast. That's the lion's share of numbers, right? Not saying that the Southeast and Texas isn't important, because it is, but from a density standpoint, that's where everybody's at. And, I think we talked about it on the game hide side, where traditionally, if you look at that Southeast, it's like that's where the mossy people are. Right. And if you look at it in the Midwest and Northeast, that's where the real tree people are. Correct. Traditionally. The break in that has been the introduction of Sitka and First Light and stuff. But from a bulk numbers standpoint, right, they're capturing maybe the high end guy, but they're not capturing the numbers guy because of their price points,
right,
primarily.
Yeah.
So and if you look at like even from a real tree standpoint, it's like, what options do we have from an apparel company? There's Scentlock and Blocker.
Element.
I don't think they do real tree. They just do mossy now.
Are you saying in real tree? Sorry, I thought you were name it.
There's not many is what I'm saying, right? From a choice standpoint.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's Blocker and it's Game Hide.
Yep.
And
what's that new? Blocker is 2.0. 2.0?
Yeah, Blocker 2.0, Scentlock.
The TUO brand is what I'm saying?
2.0.
Oh, 2.0, the brand.
2.0.
Yeah, there's a little bit of
that. Tree, I think.
Yep, they are. And maybe like a non-typical or one of the Drake companies or something like that might be as well.
They'll dabble in a little bit of that, yeah.
But like, again, the options are fairly limited there for the audience who traditionally was real tree, right? So it's like, again, how... And those people are not paying the price points of Sitka, First Light, and Kuyu. So they're very much sitting there saying, like, I don't know, like, what do I wear? Do I wear the old stuff? Do I buy new stuff? Who should I? So I think that's where, we've always seen it from a Predator side. And people know, listening to this, like, when we started this podcast, we either had just started or were about to start with Whitetail Properties. And obviously we had a Sitka relationship through Whitetail. Like that's how that happened. And, but we also were getting a significant discount on those, so it was like, okay, that makes sense. Like Sitka makes good gear. Like we'll wear it. But before that we had wore Predator. Right. And so at the point when we left Whitetail and it was like, well, there's no relationship with Sitka. Like that was the Whitetail relationship.
We were like, oh, guys who wear Sitka are assholes.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't,
we figured that out.
And they didn't care. They didn't care about the Whitetail guy at all. Like at all. They gave zero shits about it. And so we're looking at it and it's like, well, like we could make relationships, and we had conversations with Kuyu. Frankly, they didn't care about Whitetail guys either.
Right.
And so it was like, for I think a full season or more, we were just like, well, we'll just go back to our Predator because we know the pattern works. We like the apparel, like that's just going to be our thing to do. And then obviously the sale came through and we met Matt and then we came up and saw you guys and the relationship built. But it was cool for us because, you know, the foundation of our entire brand and podcast was like, we want to use the things we want to use. Like, I don't want to use something just because somebody pays me to do it. And so like, I remember immediately sending Matt like, dude, here's like 7 or 8 years or seasons of Predator of us killing stuff in it because we had a relationship with Jen. And Jen would be like, yeah, you know, you get 50% off your clothes or whatever it was. And so that's how we got our apparel. And, you know, it was great because that we were happy to use it. It worked awesome. You know, we always felt like that was the best fit for us. And that's why we ended up pursuing you guys on it.
Right. And I think that's important that you bring that up because for us and myself individually too, meeting you guys and getting that back history, you were like the perfect partner to work with because you were already using the product. You already believed in the product. You already saw what the product could do. And it's easy, right? So now it's not us working with you and everything is just a money grabber.
Sure.
No, it's a partnership. And it's one company believing in the other company or whatnot, and everybody believes in it. And the money thing is really not the drive at all.
I mean, the first meeting we had, I think, was funny because after like the initial like meet and greets and stuff, we sat at the table and we looked at all the new stuff and we already started talking about, hey, what could we do for 26?
Correct.
Like that was the first meeting of like being together was like, hey, these are awesome. Okay, what if we did this or how would we do this? And so that when you can sit there and you guys were super receptive to it because Jared and I didn't know. I think we said multiple times like, hey, we're just going to be transparent here. Like let us just lay it out of how we would do stuff or what we think. And it was like we had like a working discussion the first time we even sat down. We didn't even have a contract with you guys to do anything. It was just like, hey, let us give you some feedback on like things that we see or how we would do stuff.
And again, a privately held company, right? You're sitting there with the
decision
makers,
maker.
And you know, you're laying it all out and it's like, we will take input from anyone and everyone any day of the week. You know, and the hardest part about it is after doing this all these years, it's like you're never going to keep everybody happy.
No,
right?
Sure.
It's never going to happen. But what you try to do and you try to focus on is take in all that information that everybody gives you and try to do the best product you can based off that information and put it out there. Now, somebody may not be happy with it because this pocket isn't angled one way that they want it or this. But now we're talking about little nuances, right? We're talking about little tweaks, little things like that. But the overall garment and the functionality of the garment is acceptable. And it's really what 90% of your hunting is you need to be wearing something that functions and performs like you need it to. And you guys, I mean, you guys were great. You guys laid out some stuff, you know, that we may have missed. Right. I mean, just coming from where you guys hunt and
I think that was the coolest part is because like, you know, you guys are upper Midwest guys, right? So clearly you're going to deal with colder temperatures, like even in the bow season, right? Versus where we're hunting in, you know, Southern Ohio or even Kentucky where I'm at. And so just having both of those conversations of like, oh, okay, that makes sense from where you're at. Hear me out though. Like I'm averaging in the 50s at that time or whatever. Right. So maybe that's what I wouldn't wear or dive into this until mid to late November. I'd wear this one through that time frame. And so that's the cool open discussion. But like you said, to be able to sit there with the decision makers and actually have that open discussion, very rarely does that happen in this industry anymore. You know, and even really if you do have it, they're like, okay, well, we already developed it. So
we'll take your feedback. But
you guys are just a way more relatable company, I think, in that regard. And also maybe it's just, you know, it seems like a small, I mean, Predator is a small company, right? Sure. I mean, or at least it's perceived that way compared to some of the, you know, First Light, Kuyu, Sika stuff that we talked about earlier. And I think Jeremy and I are just like, I mean, dude, the industry is like, people want to feel like they identify with like a community. And we fortunately, like, this is where we felt so, blessed that this worked out, is we already believed in the Predator product. So we were like,
absolutely.
And we didn't, but and all we knew about that was Jen. We're like, we have just this relationship, and that was cool. We had good enough, rapport there, and we love this product. And then along the way, I think we got exposure to, some of those other, we go to the trade shows, we interact with people at these other companies, and we see the people that they choose to represent them. And like, not to make blanket statements, and because there's good people at every company, but I was like, I just don't feel like a part of any of these. And so when, you guys bought Predator and we got the chance to meet you, I was just like, it felt right. And I was like, and we have an opportunity to kind of help build the community and lead the community. So people that feel connected to us in that way, we're like, dude, that's where it was a really, really good fit for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, like I said, that's what intrigued us about working with you guys as well. And I just want to clear this up so everybody knows, all you diehard Predator people out there, Jen is still with the company.
She's still there.
She's still there.
We asked that.
Yes.
We were like, hey,
we're just make sure before we sign her. Jen is still with the company.
There? Okay.
Jen is still there, and obviously helping us out a ton on everything that she brought to the table and all of her years at cool. Predator. So and we were 100% on board with keeping Jen, because she is a key part of Predator. She's been there a long time, and she knows it well.
She was kind of like the public facing, person.
She
there.
was.
Like, Chris and Frank were there and involved, but most people dealt with Jen.
Yep.
That's just what it was.
Yeah. Well, you guys have done some really cool stuff, even in the first year, with updating the product lines and like your vision for it, and your feedback, or willingness to listen to our feedback is exciting. So we're really enjoying some of the stuff is new to me, like the spring green. Some of the apparel items I wore in North Dakota this year. Frankly, that's what I wear clear through mid to end of October. Maybe towards the end, I'll start getting into some of the alpine, the lighter, like midweight type stuff. Still spring green.
Yep.
I won't go, into my brown deception or fall, wherever I'm going to land on that until like October or
even
Halloween trips,
even where we're at, I'm pretty much the same way. Even
I'll start shifting.
Up in Minnesota, it's pretty green.
Yeah.
It's pretty green in the woods until you get to that third week
you get
of
one
October.
of those big fronts that just knocks all the
a lot
trees
of stuff off. Yep.
And I run hot. I don't want to sweat if I can prevent it at all. So I walk in with like literally one layer on, or a t-shirt, and then I'll take one layer with me, and it's working pretty good.
Well, and we're working, the new set that, the feedback that you guys brought to the table, we're working on that stuff right now, which will come out for 26.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be some good stuff.
I
think you guys will like it. We took a lot of your feedback and we're putting it to.
Dude, that's going to be exciting. I think, there's definitely challenges that face Predator, right? Because like you said, it wasn't perfect, and from a pattern standpoint, if I look at from 2000 even to, 2020, it's like Predator was very much a footnote to the other giants in the room, right?
Yeah.
In the 90s and stuff, especially when you're talking about those Midwest bow hunters and stuff, it was there. It wasn't really commercialized like these other ones, but you also didn't have as much, like, outdoor television was still TNN and, an ESPN in the morning. Like, there wasn't like the big outdoor industry that we all kind of know and feel today.
Yeah.
But as that started to approach, like, Predator definitely step back. And so maybe you saw it on some licensed products every once in a while. The apparel side of things really fell off. Like, I remember even when we started wearing it in 2015 or something like that, it was like, I didn't know anybody that was wearing Predator. It was just like, again, nostalgia reflecting back. I'm like, man, these guys used to wear it, and it's an awesome pattern. Like, it makes sense, like, from everything that we've talked about. But like, I don't know anybody that's really wearing it or promoting it or talking about it, because that was how people marketed that stuff. And so if you look at it now, it's like, okay, well, look at the marketing machines of Sitka and First Light and Kuiu and these guys, and even the Mossy Oaks and Real Trees and stuff still. And it's like, okay, there's an uphill battle here. Like you said, at least it's a brand that there are a dedicated core group of people that are hardcore Predator guys.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that fell victim, but fell into the buckets of like, well, I just want really good apparel, and it seems like Kuiu's the way, or it seems like Sitka is the way, or it seems like First Light is the way. And so what will be interesting is to see, and there's plenty of guys listening to this right now, to see if those guys start to say, well, that's not a brand that is my community, and if there is a brand that's my community and it makes good apparel and the pattern is built for whitetail hunters, especially tree stand hunters, that seems like a better fit. That'll be what is interesting here over the next year or so to see if that dynamic starts to change a little bit.
Yeah, and see how many of them circle back.
I think you'll see a bunch.
I do too. I mean, because I think that, we're putting the time and effort into this to give them what they need and what they want. And all it's going to take is, that snowball effect, right? Those guys to start buying it, to start wearing it, to start spreading. It's just like everything these days, right? It takes a little bit of time, but once that word starts getting out there that, hey, I wore Predator and now I switched over to Sitka and now I came back and this is every bit as good as my Sitka piece, and it's built for me. 70% less cost.
Yeah, and they care about me. It's the community that I want. It's built for a whitetail hunter, a bow hunter, tree stand hunter. Like, those are the things that I think will resonate with a lot of people listening to this, and just from a grassroots standpoint. And it'll take some time. Like, I know I talked about, and I don't know if you and Matt made a decision, but like we talked about the ATA and the Archery and Bow Hunting Super Show in Indy this year. Because the other thing is you guys are primarily selling Predator online, direct to consumer, right? And you've got a good policy there, like if they try it on and they need to exchange and all of that good stuff. But, for a lot of people, because the apparel just hasn't been out there even in the past, and it's changed now, right? The improvements that have been made, it will be, I want to see it. I want to touch it. Like, It's kind of weird because, like, if I want to buy a hoodie, right, I just go and I buy a large hoodie and I don't worry about it. But from a hunting gear standpoint, it's like, maybe I want to see it or at least be familiar with it, or, so those are the kind of things that I think for people to be able to see and be like, to the discussion earlier, like, can they really make a Sitka quality product for that cost? And if they can get their hands on it and they can see it and they can feel it, then it's like, it becomes more real. And you'll have other people that are just trailblazers. Like Jared and I would be the type that we would have just bought it and wore it and be like, yep, it's exactly what we thought it was.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a lot of people, whether it's cost prohibitive or just the personality that they have, that they're like, I'd rather see it or see somebody else have it or touch it or whatever before I make that leap into it. Yeah. So, all of those things I think take time, but man, I feel like this space at least is yearning for, a brand that really appreciates who we are and how we hunt. And we don't have that right now.
Yeah.
Or at least doesn't feel like we have that right now.
No, I agree 100%. And that's where we're really hoping to step in. And, we, like I said, we do listen to the customers and the feedback. It's what we do. I mean, Matt in the office will sit there and, he'll spend a ton of time reading and digging into all that stuff. And, a lot of times, we're going to get back to you and we're going to, respond to you and we're going to do those kind of things because we feel that, we owe that to the customer. We're not there to just grab your money and run and, look at like we said, the next step of going into, mountain hardware type,
right?
Casual wear.
Yeah. You're a hunting brand.
Yeah. We're a hunting brand and we care about the hunters and we want more hunters out there. And that's everything that we care about as a company.
I just hate companies that it's the perception is that they seem to think that they're better than their customers, or it's just like, we're better than you. Like,
yeah.
And I just get that. And the brands that are that way, dude, frankly, if we weren't wearing Predator, I probably just wouldn't wear a camo at this point. I would just find wear these.
Just
I have in the past. Yeah. I would just wear this. I would just get because you can find things that are warm enough or that are good apparel that aren't camo. And frankly, I don't believe in any other camo patterns. I really do. Like, I'm not just saying this. Like, the only camo pattern that I've noticed a substantial improvement or difference with is the Predator patterns. 100%.
I agree.
Literally to the point of, dude, when we switched to Sitka, frickin' deer started seeing me like I'd never been seen before. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, the garments were built nice.
They're great.
The pattern was trash.
Yeah.
That OptiFade pattern is not good.
Yeah.
I understand the visual and the digital and all of this around it. There's too much going on there.
I don't know what it is. They saw me. Well, that's all I know is they saw me.
And Predator, I mean, the whole basis behind their patterns is what?
Is breakup.
Open pattern technology, right? It's open. It helps break you up when it's open. I mean, you look at camo patterns and you can really tell when it's a bad camo pattern when you get back at a distance and then you just turn into a blob.
It's just solid.
It's just solid.
Which is every camo pattern.
Almost everyone. Like think about the minute details that a lot of these patterns, and you can make your own decisions on them, but the minute details like close up where even at my age I'm just kind of like having to bring it a little closer. I'm like, is that a deer's not seeing that at 40 yards.
Deer's not seeing that at 3 feet.
Yeah, it's just a solid. There is no breakup. There's nothing
like, what is that, an oak leaf on there?
Yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah, that's nice. Is that a maple leaf? That should be oak. You're in an oak tree. Like, you can't have a maple leaf on you.
It's cool, too, because, like, and so that pattern, we believe in it, but also it stands out to the human eye. Like, it's really unique. And so when people see, I've had a lot of people be like, that's some cool looking stuff,
Yeah.
And it's just like you're easy to pick out of a lineup. And if there is no community, it can be a little intimate because you're like, oh, it's just me, and everybody else has real tree or mossy oak. But when Jeremy and I are out together and the dads have got it and stuff, and then I've got like Brian will ask me, he's like, what is that stuff?
I remember guys used to
guys
would rag on us all the time, like Sybil even, and we love Sybil, but like. He's like, you guys still wearing that Predator shit? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, man, you got to get on board with like Sitka or Kuya. And I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. And it's the camo space it's a marketing game, right? The new patterns, the new changes is purely to appease our eyes. Has nothing to do with the wildlife side of things.
We call it shelf appeal.
That's all it is. That's why there's a new pattern every year. It's like, ooh, I need to have a new pattern. Deer doesn't give a shit if it's a new pattern every year.
Nope.
But to us, as the marketing game, as the new product, that is the thing. That's why I said, like, if it's great patterns and it works, and clearly there are different things for different scenarios, right? We talked about spring green versus a fall brown or fall gray or whatever. But beyond that, if it works, it's like, why would you change it? Like, what?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and you guys kind of have that luxury where you don't really have to change the patterns. All you have to do is continue to innovate the apparel.
Correct.
Which I freaking love that.
Yeah. I mean, that
I'd say that's a pretty big competitive advantage.
Huge.
Yeah. Like I said, there at this point, there's no reason to change. There's a reason why that pattern has stood the test.
It's timeless.
Yeah. There's just no reason to mess with it at this point. I mean, there's just,
if you came back and you're like, we're going to do this digital Predator, I'd be like, why? Like, don't do that. you know, it would be purely from a marketing play.
Sure.
Right. Or a sales play with like some big box that wants an exclusive or whatever. But from a like functional hunting side, no reason.
Doesn't make any
Just
sense.
Continue to innovate apparel, continue to come out with new stuff there, and use the patterns that work.
Yeah.
And it's pretty simple. Now, I could see eventually, like, if you guys wanted to adapt something maybe different to like a Southern style or to a Western style of things, like maybe there are some tweaks there that could happen.
Oh, absolutely.
But from like our core, from September with spring green through the end of the year with fall gray, right? It's like we're covered.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think is really cool about the brand.
Yeah, and fall brown, reintroducing fall brown is huge, right? Because it puts in another pattern into between probably the spring green and the fall
gray. Yep.
So, you've got that introduced and that in there now as well. And because
brown deception was really like the biggest deviation, right? From the if you look at the structures of spring green, fall brown, fall gray, right? It's just different color palettes, same function, same, mindset around them. Brown deception was the one that was like, hey, we're gonna do something a little different here.
Yeah.
And I think it's, I know plenty of, those ones are all in brown deception there. I know we've wore brown deception a lot. Last year I killed my Iowa buck in fall gray.
Yeah.
Which was the first year that I even wore that. And I was like, I like this. And again, it's, it's the situations you're in, it's where you're sitting, it's what that, leaf cover and everything looks like. But understanding, especially as tree stand hunters, which most people listening to this are, understanding that open pattern technology and the breakup concept
or
of
saddle hunters. We'll include them too.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I say tree stand hunters or saddle hunters.
In
fact, honestly, saddle hunters may need it more. Like I still utilize the tree behind me as a big part of my breakup of silhouette.
That's a good point.
Whereas a saddle hunter, unless you're putting that tree between you and the deer, which is what you're supposed to do, if you're off to the side, like you need that breakup. I mean, that is skyline straight behind you. So saddle hunters, listen up. Like that could be a big thing for you. But when you start to think about that and then reflect on what else is out there on the market, you got to be like, I don't know. Like most of these patterns don't follow that same pathway, right? They're very solid, very dark, very fine line, changes.
Yep.
Not blocky, not open. And it's like that's what you need from a stance, situation.
Yeah.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Pure Wildlife Blends.
Man, what a critical component just to everything that we talk about, especially during these off-season months. We're looking at and developing these different farms and trying to improve them from year to year. And whether that's food plots or different switch screenings or bedding areas, they all require a dedicated and thoughtful seed blend.
Yeah, so obviously Pure Wildlife Blends being Jeff and Jen Sturgis, we've built a great relationship with those guys. And really what we're seeing is a true testament to them picking the best varieties for these mixes. In fact, we're leaning on clover a lot more. The perennial plot power that those guys do was one of the best clover plots I've ever seen. From December to March, we had more deer in a single clover plot than I've ever seen. A lot of these sheds coming from that plot or right around it. Again, just a true testament to what these guys are creating at Pure Wildlife Blends.
No doubt. And so if you guys are looking for just a workhorse seed that the deer will really use the way that you want them to use it, you can use promo code HUNTR, HUNTR, for a discount on the Pure Wildlife Blends website. Is there anything kind of to wrap up here that you want to talk as far as like new lines, things that are coming? Not like I'm expecting an announcement or anything like that. Do you want to comment on any changes that have been made or, where people can look for the camo and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of new products out for 25 for this fall right now. I mean, you've got the new Vantage jacket and pant. You've got, excuse me, you've got the lighter weight stuff.
Yep.
We introduced a new lightweight top, which everybody's loving.
That's the Vapor.
The Vapor Light.
That's what I wore for that elk hunt. It was awesome.
Yeah, the feedback on the Vapor Light series has been phenomenal.
Yep.
I mean, guys are like, yeah, this thing fits great. It functions, the fabrics.
Well, we
everything.
talk about those athletic guys. Like, that's what Jared and I always had. Anything that we've worn, it's like we want an athletic cut.
Yeah.
We want to feel like we can layer appropriately if we need to, but it's still cut athletically. Like that's just how we wear our clothes now. That's what we want. I don't want baggy arms and saggy crotch and everything like that. And that Vapor series has definitely been, a big part of that when I was wearing it in Kentucky. I felt like I had an athletic cut. I felt like I could move very well on it, but I wasn't going to get hung up and there was just excess hanging out around.
The fabric stretch, they move with you. All those.
It's the right weight too. It's just like paper thin.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. So going into 26, we're obviously, we're kind of wrapping up product development obviously at this point because you're going to be placing a production order from a timing standpoint here by the end of the year.
Right.
Just to get that stuff turned around and get it back into your warehouse in time for 26. So there's a number of new items that are going to get introduced in 26 as well. So quite a few new things that came out here in 25 and then even more coming out in 26. So
awesome.
And this will just, this will continue to snowball. It takes time when you're starting from something where, you're just kind of grasping it, that first year, taking over control of it. Product development and making sure you get things right because we had to make sure that, we didn't make any mistakes.
Well, you guys took some product off of the website that you didn't feel met the quality that you guys are trying to perceive here in the future.
Correct.
Even though you had stock, you're like, I don't want people to buy this and get the wrong idea of where we're going.
Yeah.
And so you actually took stuff off of the website, and also kudos to like getting new stuff even up in 25. Like that's a challenge in itself just to have new product to hit the shelf in 25.
Yeah. I mean, we really had to focus and push hard on that end of it. Because like I said, the last thing we wanted to do is reintroduce new products and screw something up again. Right.
Because first impression.
You don't want to come out with something and then the guys are like, hey, the sizing is still, screwed up and this one doesn't fit like this one should and this and that. So we really had to focus hard and make sure we got that stuff right, which I think we did. And honestly, we'll leave that up to the customers, but the customer feedback so far here, somewhat early into 25, now things are going to ramp up.
Oh yeah.
Tremendously here in the next couple months, as we know, but the feedback so far, you get on there and you'll see the feedback has been very, very positive.
It's awesome,
cool.
man.
So it's cool. I mean, that's where I look at stuff like that and I say, okay, our whole team at Core did something right. And that's what I take pride in, is making sure that, at the end of the day, we're doing everything possible to get the customers what they want, what they need at a fair price, and make sure that they're happy. Because again, we want them out there hunting, and at the end of the day, will we love to have them wearing our clothes? Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever we can do to make that happen, we're gonna push and try to do it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think it will be, especially for people who haven't used it or haven't seen the pattern, like and it likely have been wearing other patterns. It's definitely a change, right? If you're wearing some of these patterns that are more solid and you go to this, you kind of feel like, is there too much white in this? Is it too blocky? Like, because it's just such a significant change. But I'm telling you, the amount of deer, and this is way before we had a relation. When we first started wearing this thing, I think, here in Pennsylvania and in Kansas, I remember deer just like looking through me. Like it was the weirdest thing to be like, tucked in that tree, and that deer sees you, like is like something's not right, but like they just look through you, and then eventually they're like, okay, there's nothing there, and go back. And it's a weird feeling, because normally you get pegged and you're like, damn it, I'm pegged.
Yeah.
But like there is a for sure, like something is not registering correctly as they're looking there, whether it's the breakup, an open pattern, or whatever, but they're just like, I don't see what I thought I should see. And eventually they just go back to doing their thing.
And you hit the nail on the head, because that's exactly the way I feel when I'm wearing it, and they happen, maybe you do something dumb, and you little movement or something, and they look up. It's like, that's exactly how I feel. It's like they're just looking right through you.
Yeah.
And I even went to the extent of, this past late season of last year, I was up in a tree where, I never got pegged in the tree just because of the setup, but I was purposely, late season when they were coming into this field and this food source, I was purposely like moving my hands and stuff up there, and then they'd look up, and literally they would look up and
they just lost you.
Yeah, they would look up, maybe they'd look up for 5 seconds or so, and then it goes right back down to feeding. And then I'm up there and I move again like this. Same thing.
Yeah.
They look up and they're like, okay, there's movement. Something's going
was
on.
Was it a squirrel jumping from limb to limb? Was it an owl? Like, I don't know.
But they're not computing your outline or anything up there, and they just, head goes right back down. It's just crazy.
It is a weird thing, because contrary to the solids, where like they see you, and even with a tree behind you, it's like there's a different contrast there. They know something is there that shouldn't be there. It goes, steady color, change, steady. And it's like, what is right there that shouldn't be there? But yeah, they just kind of look through you. And yeah, and like I said, between that and the improvements that you guys are making from like a fit and quality of apparel, it's a great option for people that just don't feel like they have a home, right? And that's, we're in a very niche space, right? Like whether it's bows or arrows or broadheads or whatever, right? People are like, well, this is the best. This is the best. It's a very niche based, passion, or hobby. And so I think there's probably a lot of people that maybe are just going along with the flow on some others, but if you feel like lost without that community, like there's a home there for sure.
Absolutely.
Cool, dude. Well, just like that, man, we appreciate you flying in and spending time with us.
Great to be here.
Just like Like 2 hours and 40 minutes, just like that.
Has it been that long?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I
could sit and do this all day
long.
I know,
man.
So.
It's so fun, like just to get into it and just, it's just discussions and that's what we really take pride in, is just having a clean discussion to where you look at the watch and you're like, okay, that was 2 hours and 40 minutes. You're like, what? Really? Like that fast? But we appreciate all the relationship with Predator and Core and what you guys do. Obviously, anybody listening to this and wants to check it out can go to predatorcamo.com. They can use our code HUNTR on there, HUNTR, and get a discount. And if you're looking for something mid-season or even the late season, like lots of options there between the patterns and the different apparel and the new stuff that's on there as well. But yeah, Steve, we appreciate it. We wish you the best of luck this season, man. Keep in touch with us, and hopefully you put that giant down.
So that's what we're waiting for.
I'm gonna do my best. Well, right. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, thanks for having me up, and appreciate it. Looking forward to what the future has here. We're all excited.
Yeah, same, man. Well, we appreciate everyone listening to this episode of HUNTR Podcast with Steve Huettl from Predator Camo, and we will catch you all next time.
Later.
Take me